board packets to the River Gordon School Board of Education within the identified time frame. Number four, not allow outside entities not allow outside entities to dictate board actions. Number one, River Gordon School District Board of Education decisions will be made based on facts, policies, and procedures, not individual opinions or requests. Number two, educate and encourage the community to follow proper protocols for voicing concern. Policy KC community engagement.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the agenda? Okay, the agenda has been moved to approve by Ms. Moore Real and seconded by Ms. Jackson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda has been approved. Next, we will have Riverview Excellence.
Good evening, Board of Education members, Dr. Patton, colleagues, community, and scholars. Glad to see so many faces here this evening, especially on a summer night, so thank you all for coming. This evening for Riverview Excellence, we have a familiar face, someone who was recognized recently, a couple of months ago, or maybe about a month ago. We had a board meeting, and I got a text from Miss Amber White, and she said, "Hey, you didn't recognize my Riverview Excellence person." And I said, I looked at her, went back and looked at her email, and it was Dr. Mott. And I said, "Oh, we just recognized Dr. Mott, last meeting." And she said, "No, I want to recognize her again. Please recognize her again because she deserves it." And so Ms. White couldn't be here this evening, but let me read her nomination. She said, "Dr. Mott has been a huge support to Moline, specifically our third grade team. She has been heavily involved in planning weekly with the team. She went above and beyond to help support the team, meeting with them multiple times a week, providing a multitude of resources and being willing to do anything needed. In fact, over spring break, Dr. Mott and I met to make a plan for additional support for the third grade team. In March, she began teaching a large group of third graders every single day in a final push to help them prepare for MAP testing. She came daily to teach for over an hour, modeling best practices for the classroom teacher, and even asked to have 30 more minutes a day with the students in the last 2 weeks. So Dr. Mott, we want to recognize you for Riverview Excellence once again. If you want to speak briefly to aiding during that testing period.
Thank you very much.
And that concludes Riverview Excellence. I know some of you are scratching your head because we have a full audience, but a lot of these people are here for the Highland presentation, so they'll be up soon.
Thank you very much. Okay, next, we will have public comment. Mrs. Fields, do we have anyone here for public comment? Okay, thank you very much. Next, we will move to board remarks. Do we have any announcements from any of our board members? Okay, we will go with Dr. May and then next, Wanda Lane.
Hello, everyone. We just recently attended a summer, I guess, institute with Missouri School Board Association, and it was very informative. So we learned a lot about the budget. So hopefully we can apply some of those skills tonight as we go through the process. But it was really good. And I also want to share, I always like to share resources. North County was declared a disaster site. So if you have not had your roof estimated and apply for FEMA, please do so. There is a small window for you to apply. So North County, from the March 14th and 15th storm, check your roof for wind and hail damage and apply for FEMA. And we are still looking for volunteers in the city for disaster relief at some of the churches. So just go to STL, United Way volunteer STL or something like that for you to look for opportunities to help the city with disaster relief. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Part of our training is for um, Robert's Rules. We had a Robert's Rule training in St. Charles. Some of us attended. It was very detailed and very informative. And we try to remember all of the things that Robert Rules implies as how we conduct ourselves in meetings. Regarding the spring training session we had in Branson, there was one area that was very important and informative to me. And it was about school board members being involved with connecting with our local representatives in Jefferson City. Not only is it important for us to be involved, but also for the community to be involved with your local representatives. We need support from all of our local representatives. We need champions for Riverview Garden School District. We were elected to represent the Riverview Gardens School District, and we intend to represent the Riverview Garden School District. So those are my comments, Madam President.
Thank you very much.
And I wanted to say, as a member of Region 7, our school district is part of Region 7. One of the members that is on the executive committee with me, her name is Keisha Lee. She represents Ladue School District. But Keisha Lee will be our president-elect, and she will become president as of the 26-27 school year. And the reason that I brought that up is we have not had representation from Region 7 for many, many, many years. And on top of that, African-American representation, we have not had that for even more years than I can even go back. But I know she's listening, so I just want to tell Keisha, congratulations. She worked with me with advocacy for us. She worked with me with leadership development. So we tag team on a lot of things. So the school year coming up, I will be in charge of advocacy for Region 7, but I just wanted to acknowledge and congratulate Keisha Lee.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Next, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I apologize. We have a couple of documents not attached. I didn't want us to have a sunshine law violation. So the lawn care and the budget amendment documents are not attached to the consent agenda. So I would like to make a motion that we table the lawn care and the budget amendment until the attachments are provided for the public.
Okay, so that's C, lawn care, and A,
Yes.
A and C. Okay. Okay, can you restate the motion, please?
The motion is to table the lawn care and budget amendment and remove from the consent agenda until it is attached for the public.
Thank you.
So did you have an attachment before on there? Okay, so it's just the budget amendment that's missing. Okay. So I would like to rescind my motion and strike lawn care and just the budget amendment.
Thank you. Okay.
Judy? I just asked about attachments. We was trying to make sure before. So no attachment. That's- I would like to make a motion to rescind. No attachments are needed for either one. That's why I was asking in advance. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So move.
Okay, thank you. A motion, it has been moved by Dr. May to approve the consent agenda and seconded by Ms. Jackson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. The ayes have it. The consent agenda has been approved. Next, I will turn it over to Dr. Patton for the superintendent's report.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to see everyone here from Highland. Make some noises, you're from Highland. Where's that Highland leader? There is Ms. Harris, good. It's welcome, Highland. We are glad that you are here. You should show up every board meeting. Please get their name and number. We will be calling you all. I just have a few announcements. We are ending, this week is our last week of summer school. So we've had about 4 weeks of summer school. And this Friday will be our last week. I do want to remind our parents, since you are in the room, let's take a vote. How many of you have already registered your students for the 25-26 school year, Highland? Oh, okay. Well, registration is open. You can go online and register. We're also doing registration at the high school in the library. It'll be there. We will open at 8:30. Well, we've been there all week, but we'll open tomorrow and Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. So regardless to what hours you are working, we will be there to support you. You can also go online and register as well. There is a new student information system. It is called Focus. So please do it earlier. There will be no registration during the back to school bash. Typically over the last maybe 2 or 3 years, we've had a registration at the back to school bash, but there will not be registration during that time. And you know, those golden tickets only go to the people who are registered. The golden tickets will get you book bags and all the school supplies, the food trucks and all of that. So please, please, please go on to our RGSD website and get registered, but also you can go to the high school tomorrow until 8:30 to 7:30 and Friday, tomorrow and Thursday, 8:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. to get registered. You will need proof of residency, identification, things like that. So please, please, please go on and get registered. Our back to school bash, which I mentioned, will be July 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. on the high school campus. And if you raise your hand if you've been to our back to school bash. What? Okay, there we go. It is a lot of fun. There are bounce houses. There are alpacas that I stay away from. There are reptiles. There's all kinds of vendors there. So please, please, please join us on July 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. On the high school campus for our back to school bash. And then again, well, I didn't say this, but I'll say it now. First day of school is August 18th. First day of school is August 18th. It doesn't start after Labor Day. It starts on August 18th. So please join us. At our back to school bash, we'll also have haircuts, backpacks, food, all kinds of things. So please join us. July 31st, back to school bash, August 18th, first day of school. And once again, thank you, Highland team, for joining us. Madam Chair, that ends my announcements.
Thank you very much. Next, we will have Dr. Patton, items for information.
Thank you. Our first item up for information is the data presentation. We should have held this to last because we don't want the Highland crew to leave. Ms. Harris, we're moving you to the end of the meeting. No. Data presentation from Highland Elementary School. Making this presentation is Ms. Barbara Sharp. She is our Executive Director of Continuous Improvement and the principal of the Highland Elementary School, Ms. Teresa Harris. This is in conjunction with Policy IA, Instructional Priorities, and IGAB, Instruction Interventions. Ms. Sharp, Ms. Harris?
Good evening to the Riverview Gardens Board of Education, Superintendent Patton, colleagues, scholars, and members of this amazing community. As part of the district's collective commitment towards continuous improvement, all schools in the district are engaged in Priority Schools at Work and a PLC initiative. This is currently being led by Solution Tree. It is being supervised by myself and then supported by key leaders within the district. Tonight, we are fortunate to have presentations from the wonderful principal at Highland Elementary School, Ms. Teresa Harris. She will present STAR assessment data. She will focus on mathematics performance, a profile of student attendance based on the 90-90 requirement, and a comparison of student data based upon DESE tested areas. She will also share celebratory practices within her school. But I think before she does all of that, she has a special announcement that she needs to make. We will hold on. Are you doing that now? Oh. Part two. Please hold your questions until she completes her presentation. Please receive her at this time, Ms. Harris.
Second. Okay, good evening to Dr. Patton, board members, Riverview Garden School District employees, and the community. I am honored and blessed to lead at Highland Elementary. Today, I'm going to present a brief synopsis of my data, of our data. Before I begin, I have to give a shout out to my beautiful staff. None of this would be possible without them. Highland family, please just wave your hand. All right. Thank you for your commitment to our scholars. My presentation, see the clicker?
Does she have the clicker?
I see the clicker. All right, thank you. My presentation topics, of course, as Ms. Sharp mentioned, attendance, math performance, and celebrations. All right, as we take a look at my attendance, my ADA remained in the 80%, and ended at 87.26 for the school year. My 90-90 remained in the mid-60s and started to decrease as the winter approached. As spring approached, attendance started to increase. The last week of May was challenging. We still ended at 8% more for this school year, and I've added some strategies to our list to overcome this challenge for attendance. And I would like to say that attendance is an issue all over the United States. All right, taking a look at my math performance data, I'm really excited about this data. We are not where we need to be, but we are getting there. We're doing an awesome job getting there. The data presented to you is from 2023 to current, but I am going to focus on fall 24 and winter 25. I've highlighted some areas to focus on, okay? As you can see, first grade proficiency and advanced, it was at 22%. Our proficiency in advance, it increased by 17%. You take a look at the second grade, we had 78% of students to be below basic, 78%. In the fall, in the winter, when the STAR assessment was taken that time, we decreased, let me go back. We were at 78% and it decreased to 38%. So that's a 40% increase in the students that we had that were below basic. Okay, that's a decrease, I'm sorry. In addition, second grade advanced was just at 3%. If you look at proficient, it was 3%. When you look advanced, when you look over to advanced for winter, we increased to 25%. So that's a 22% increase, okay, for second grade. Looking at our third grade, we were at 79% below basic. And we decreased that and we went down to 42%. That is a 37% decrease in the amount of students that we had at below basic. So team, you're doing an awesome job. All right, third grade proficiency as well was at, if you look at advanced, it was at 3%. And proficiency and advanced increased by 34%. Taking a look at, yes, at fourth grade, our fourth grade, we started with below basic scholars at 94%, high of 94%. But in the fall, in the winter, I'm sorry, when we took it, it decreased by 45%. 45%, that's a lot. And if you notice, in addition, fourth grade proficiency was 0 in the fall, and it rose to 16%. Fifth grade, looking at fifth grade, we were at 81% for below basic. 81% of the fifth grade scholars were below basic, and we decreased that down to 60%. Okay, so that's wonderful as well. We only had 2% of students to be proficient for fifth grade, and we increased that to 17% because it went up to 19%. So we increased by 17%. So as you look at the data, you notice, what I noticed is that it was an intense focus to move our below basic students, and they moved to proficient or advanced. So I think that's really, really excellent. Going to move to the map data. All right, this is our map data for 2022, 23, and 24, right? We have a cohort for map data, which means that your same students is the same students that test again for third, fourth, and fifth grade, right? So the scholars are the same. I'm making a point. In ELA 22, excuse me, we had our below basic decreased each year, while basic and proficient increased. Our below basic decreased each year, while basic and proficient increased. So we went up to, if you notice, we were started at 86.9 in 22 at below basic. And last year we were down to 55.8. Our proficiency also, it was at 0, and it's at 6.9. So we're moving, we're moving. In math, our below basic, excuse me, was at 100%. 100% below basic in 22. By 24, we did decrease that number to 90.4. So we decreased, and our basic and proficient increased. As you notice, we went up, basic went up to 9.5 and proficient 0.8. All right, celebrations, yes. All right, I want to talk about celebrations. In math, we had students scored below basic have decreased from 78% to 45%, while proficiency has increased from 7% to 31%. We had 42 students that grew 1.5 years on the STAR math benchmark assessment. So that's over, a year. I have some scholars here, and I wanted to announce their name, and I would like for them to stand if they're here. All right. The following scholars had outstanding growth in math, the Math STAR benchmark assessment: Artie Knighton, Isaiah Andrews, and Kelton Griffin. Okay. ELA, early literacy, students scoring below basic have decreased from 49% to 35%, while proficiency increased from 39% to 79%. That is a 40% increase for early literacy. And I'm going to talk about, I have my two teachers who did that. So I'm going to talk about them in a few minutes. So superior scores on the STAR early literacy. And if these students are here, would you please stand? Tamir Walker Bay.
The mirror is hiding.
Okay. Chance Moore. Avery Pitts and Ariel State. These students are in kindergarten and they scored second grade on early literacy. So that was excellent. Yes. Okay. I have, sorry about that. I have some scholars that demonstrated high proficiency that scored 3 or more years on the reading assessment, the STAR benchmark assessment. Alexandria Guthrie scored 8th grade. Artie Knighton, 7th grade. Lamondre Sanford, 6th grade. And Mariah Williams, 11.4. And the reason I'm saying this is because Alexandria is a 5th grader. She scored 8th grade. Artie Knighton is a 4th grader. He scored 7th grade. Lamondre Sanford is a 3rd grader. He scored 6th grade. Mariah Williams is a 3rd grader who scored 11.4. That is awesome. Yes. Did I? And I also had 2 first graders who scored high on the early literacy. And I said, you know what? I'm going to give them the reading assessment. So I gave them the reading assessment and they both scored proficient. This is Angelo Young and Kason Green Jackson. Stand up, Kason. Here. My 2 outstanding teachers, all my teachers are outstanding, but I have 2 teachers that had outstanding student growth. They had 40% of student growth, and that is Donetta Wilborn and Miss Adrian. Okay. And is it okay for them to come up to take a picture? Okay, thank you. Keisha.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Adrian, what's your last name again?
Lemons.
Come on up. Come here.
Yes, all the students and the staff members she mentioned can come up to the front to take a photo with the board. Come on, don't be shy. Come on up. Any parents, if you want to be in the photo with your children as well, come on up.
You better leave me alone.
Samir is real shy. He doesn't get that school.
Congratulations.
All right, and this ends my presentation for me. Do you all have any questions for me?
Yes.
Okay.
Great job. I just want to ask you, what are some of the strategies you're observing that the teachers are doing to have such a great outcome?
So several things. put a lot of strategies in place, procedures in place. Several of them that I'm going to mention tonight is one, small groups, small groups, small groups. That was challenging implementing it at the beginning of the year, but just going back and revisiting that, having more professional development on it. So small groups. Also, we do school-wide U-Fly. U-Fly is a phonics and phonics program. It is for foundational skills that students are lacking. We also started mid-year in December. My special teachers, they had training, and SIPS is System Information Phonics Phonemic Awareness Program, and it is also for foundational skills. So we started pulling out. The special teachers started pulling out. We also do school-wide Husky Huddle. Husky Huddle is the math intervention. It's school-wide. It's every teacher 30 minutes a day, do that with all their scholars, but the information comes from the instructional report from the STAR assessment. So it shows you the skills that your students lack, and so every morning they teach those skills to their students. Those are some of the things that we do. We also do common formative assessment. Common formative assessment is testing the kids on the priority standards, right? And also if they don't pass it, we do a reteach again, and we do it twice. So those are some of the things that we do, including Freckle. We use Freckle because Freckle, it has the skill focus. So whatever your students lack, it's their individual deficit. They get a chance to assign those to students, and students, get on there and take that assessment and practice, do like practice skills on STAR.
And what are you learning are the challenges to the attendance? What are parents saying as their reason?
A lot of our parents, what I'm noticing, one thing I'm going to start doing next year is restorative truancy. Restorative truancy is building relationships with your parents. So getting to know what is the issue, what's the root of the problem for your students not attending. We're also doing things, also going to do 2 home visits a week versus 1. So it's just really doing everything with fidelity, doing everything with fidelity.
Okay. Thank you. Good
You're
job.
welcome.
Go ahead, Ms. Williams.
Okay, my question, that leads to my question about
Mhm.
parental involvement. How is your parental involvement? And if it's good, what are those activities that you find parents enjoy most?
So parental involvement was pretty good. We have an event once a month to get our parents active. We send out flyers, and then we do reminders every week. Every week we send them a reminder for them to attend. The one that we had that was really big, we had like 150 grandparents to come. It was Grandparents' Day, and it was phenomenal. It was absolutely excellent. And I don't want to forget about Father Donuts for Dad. It was great. We had 75 fathers to show up, so that was great too. Yeah, it was really good.
Very good. Very good, Ms. Harris.
Okay.
So I do want to say, shout out to our parents as well, because you don't get those kind of scores unless there's a partnership between
Yes.
home and the school. So let's give our parents a loud round of applause. Yes. Ms. Harris, you called my middle name a couple of times. My middle name is Foundation.
Okay.
And I keep preaching about the foundation of education.
Yes.
The kindergarten first and second. That is so important. It is the
Mhm.
foundation for everything they build on, and I
Yes.
cannot stress that enough. So thank you to our teachers.
Yes.
Thank you for the work that you're doing as well. So shout out to our teachers. And I have to acknowledge our specialist teachers as well,
Yes.
because they're doing small group, they're helping to close this gap. So shout out to them as well. Related arts, art, music, PE, let's shout them out too.
And my counselor.
And,
My counselor
yes.
also did small groups.
Very good.
Pullouts for SIP.
Okay,
Yes.
is that the counselor that retired? Is that-
Yes.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
she's leaving me.
All right. Well, great job, Highland. Great job as an entire team.
Yes.
Great job.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Lock the doors. They're trying to leave now. Okay, thank you, Highland. Excellent job, Ms. Harris. Our next item up for information is the Comprehensive School Improvement Plan update. Making this presentation is Ms. Tiffany Buchanan, Ms. Deirdre Liddell, Ms. Barbara Sharp, Mr. Travis Ford, and Ms. Tracy Nave. They are all making the presentation, and this is in conjunction with Policy IA, Instructional Goals, Priorities, and Objectives. Team?
Good evening, school board members, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and members of our community. Tonight, we are pleased to share updates on the progress of our continuous school improvement plan. Our presentation will highlight key developments across several focus areas: student performance, collaborative climate and culture, college and career readiness, staffing and workforce, and attendance. We will showcase the strategies and action steps we have worked diligently to implement throughout the year. These efforts not only reflect our ongoing commitment to improvement, but also provide the foundation for a thorough audit of our CSIP. This audit will help us identify both our strengths and areas for growth as we begin planning for the 25-26 school year. Following the presentation, we welcome any clarifying questions you may have. And so you'll actually hear from more members than those mentioned, but
I
I
just
did.
wrote their names down. I didn't mention
Yeah.
Dr. Kimberly Mott and Dr. Tiffany Hunter.
And Dr. Tasha Jordan.
Oh, and Dr. Tasha Jordan. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Big presentation.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is our school improvement plan for this school year. You all are familiar with this one pager. These are our goals for student performance. As you can see, our goal is basically to increase by 10% each year until the end of, or the close of this CSIP cycle. My job today is kind of to present the data to you all. And so the data that I'm sharing with you this evening is our district STAR benchmark for reading and math for the 2024-2025 school year. And as you all know, we take this benchmark 3 times a year. We take it in the fall, the winter, and the spring. As we review the data, there are a few implications that I want you all to consider. The first thing I want you to consider is the timing that this assessment was given. The spring assessment was given after our scholars took the MAP and ELC assessments. So the placement of this last benchmark presents an opportunity for probable testing fatigue, which could have affected our scores. And also the attendance. So in the second week of May, we observed a drastic decrease in our attendance for whatever reason. And so we were not able to test the complete population as we would have liked. And so this does cause for some implications with the data, and it may not be comparable in some spaces. And so I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that as we dive into the data. There's still some things that we can glean from the data, and you'll be able to see kind of closer as we look at the data where those discrepancies may lie. The team has discussed those implications. So as a district leadership team, we talked about some of the challenges that we saw after reviewing the data, and we are taking steps to address those implications in the upcoming school year. So we'll dive into the data. First, we'll look at STAR reading. So when comparing our fall 2024 STAR reading data to our spring STAR data, we see a 4.4% decrease in below basic scholars. That's a decrease of 324 scholars. We see a 2 1/10 increase in proficient scholars, and that's an increase of 32 scholars, and a 1.1% increase in advanced scholars, which is an increase of 21 scholars. Overall, as a district, we have an 18.5% of our scholars who scored at or above proficiency on the spring benchmark, and that is 602 scholars out of the 3,246 scholars who took the STAR reading assessment. District-wide, 55.5% of our scholars showed typical or better growth from the fall 2024 benchmark to the spring 2025 benchmark. And that's 1,633 scholars. So what that means is that we had a large population of scholars who showed at or above typical or better growth when compared to their peers nationwide. And so what STAR does, they use something called a SGP, a student growth percentile rank. And basically it lets us know, are our babies growing? Are they moving in the right direction? And so 55.5% of our scholars show either typical or better growth than other people nationwide. Our ninth grade scholars showed the highest percent of scholars who were making typical or better growth is 72%. And so our ninth grade scholars, 118 out of the 164 of those scholars either showed typical or better growth when compared to their nationwide peers. And so that's something to celebrate at the high school.
Yes, that is.
Our middle schools had the strongest performance and growth with 59.9% of scholars making typical or better growth. That was followed by the high school, who had 58.5% of scholars who showed growth. And then our elementaries, on average, had 52.6% of our scholars who showed typical or better growth. So this year, we went from 3 scholars in kindergarten in the fall who took the STAR reading, and Principal Harris kind of alluded to this. In the fall, we started with just 3 scholars who were able to take STAR reading. If you didn't know, we take STAR early literacy for kindergarten and first grade, and those are the foundational skills. Once they reach a certain point, they're able to begin to take STAR reading. And so in fall, we had 3 scholars who could take STAR reading. By the spring, we had 123 kindergarten or first grade scholars who could take STAR reading. This is the celebration. 50% of those scholars were proficient or advanced. In reading, we saw improvement from fall to spring as a district in the following grade levels: kindergarten, 2nd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. Also in reading, 8 out of our 12 schools show growth in the percentage of proficient and advanced scholars from fall to spring. And there are 3 schools who showed continuous growth, meaning that in the advanced and proficient category in the fall, they showed, from fall to winter, they showed growth, and then from winter to spring, they showed growth. And those schools are Glasgow, Koch, and Central Middle School. Moving on to STAR Math. So when comparing our fall 2024 STAR Math data to our spring 2025 data, we see a 3.9% decrease in below basic scholars. That's a decrease of 339 scholars. We see a 1.3% increase in proficient scholars. That's an increase of 23 scholars, and a 2% increase in advanced scholars, and that's an increase of 50 scholars. Overall, as a district, we had 13.8% of our scholars who scored at or above the proficiency mark. That is 435 scholars out of 3,144 scholars who were assessed. District-wide, 49.4% of our scholars showed typical or better growth from fall to spring. That's 1,370 scholars who were showing growth. And again, our high school showed the strongest performance and growth with 64.7% of our scholars making typical or better growth. And they were followed by our elementary schools with an average of 46.2% of our scholars making typical or better growth. And again, our ninth graders are leading the way. They led the way with 65.9% of them making typical or better growth. And if you don't know, those ninth graders take Algebra 1. And so that's hopeful for us with our MAP scores, which are trickling in slowly. So in math, we saw improvement from fall to spring as a district and in the following grade levels: 6th, 7th, 9th, and 10th grade. In math, 6 out of our 12 schools show growth in the percentage of proficient advanced scholars from fall to spring. And the following schools show continuous growth over the school year: Glasgow, Highland, Moline, and Central Middle School. A lot of the highlights that I've shown are what I've linked here for you all, and it's for you all to review. And so you can take a closer look at our data. You can see our STAR benchmark data by grade level as a district, but then you can also see the overall STAR benchmark as by school. And so at this time, you'll hear from the team who will kind of talk to the different pieces that we have done throughout the school year that speaks to our success and also our next steps on our journey to full accreditation. Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe. Sure.
Continuing with the presentation, the information in terms of student performance, I believe you've received a lot of information from our previous presenter. So that those are some documents that are embedded there for you to consider. I'll talk briefly regarding the work with solution tree. And so there are three areas, action steps that I'll focus on. And the first one is the emphasis on work with principals and the implementation of professional development using the professional learning communities at work framework. So what you have there in front of you are a series of documents, including schedules for the entire year in terms of professional development and the work with solution tree. You also have principal networking agendas from those sessions, as well as a support in terms of sustainability planning. Moving down to the next item, this is an opportunity to create an awareness for stakeholders. And so tonight's presentation, in which we had a principal from Highland, is one example of that. So you've had principals to present to you each month to talk about student performance. So embedded in those documents, you will see, again, sample letters, really a lot of emphasis on the turnaround school work. You'll also see a timeline and then a proposed plan that has been used. And finally, you will see the efforts to collaborate in terms of intervention plan. Again, Highland Elementary School serves as a model. And so, like many of the principals, I provided you a copy of the dashboard. And in her dashboard, you'll see a plethora of different items, including agendas, et cetera, that really speaks to how they are integrating interventions and practices and various strategies. You'll also see 30, 60, 90-day plans, and then the work for sustainability. So that concludes my portion, and I believe the next presenter is Dr. Jordan.
Thank you.
Good evening. Today I'll be presenting on our two action steps. The first one was focused on professional development, and the second one was focused on the curriculum alignment to the 5E model. So for professional development, there's been a lot this year. So secondary science teachers, that includes middle school and high school, they've received professional development on how to integrate explain within their lessons. They went through two different claim evidence and reasoning sessions, and then also a graphing and data analysis session as well. And I would like to personally thank the IC at Highland, Ms. Thompson, who led those sessions with me. The second one is middle school science teachers unwrap priority science standards. On April 21st, they actually did a professional development where teachers learn how to use artificial intelligence in order to create assessments. So teachers learn how to put in their standard or their learning target into AI, and then it shoots out different questions for do nows and then assessments. This kind of takes away some of the time and confusion some teachers have around what's considered a good question include on an assessment, and teachers were able to collaborate in that space. Middle school teachers, during their claim evidence and reasoning professional development, they learn how to use sentence stems for students, learn how to scaffold the writing throughout the school year, using a rubric, and then also multimodal instruction, so how they can make sure that students are learning how to do a CER based off of experiments, videos, and then academic discourse in the classroom. Also, there was some work around intentional vocabulary instruction, and then I specifically worked with the middle school teachers on how to create initial models, which is a key part of their Open SciEd curriculum that they use. Elementary teachers were provided modeling sessions on how to integrate Explore within their classroom and supporting teachers in creating evaluation assessments as needed. Those schools that I intentionally worked with were Koch Elementary, LeMasters, Danforth, and Lewis and Clark. Last but not least, Westview Middle School teachers participated in STEM integration through the Institute for School Partnership at WashU. This encompassed providing extension, integration, and problem solving for our students, which is really, really important to ensure that one, they're learning the content, but two, to make sure that it's meaningful and relevant for their everyday lives. Teachers also participated in full-day sessions at organizations such as Millipore Sigma, the Challenger Learning Center, and Cortex with Microsoft. Two of our teachers were selected from their cohort to present at WashU, and even though one of our teachers was a first-year teacher, not certified, there were veteran teachers that were asking him about all the interesting things that he was doing in his classroom, and a big part of that came from the relationship with WashU. The second action step was to revise the curriculum to structure science units to include the 5E model. So I've done that with the new K2 curriculum with the Missouri Department of Conservation, and then also revisions of the middle school science unit plans to include the 5E model. Some next steps, since this will be my last board meeting, is to make sure that we're continuing to support our teachers, specifically our elementary teachers. Sometimes science falls to the wayside in elementary schools, but it is definitely needed. So I wrote down professional development for elementary teachers on science curriculum, how we can better support elementary teachers in planning and being intentional about doing those lesson plans, since they do have to plan for all 4 content areas. Supporting teachers in creating evaluations such as CFAs during PLCs, and this is for all grade levels. Continued support of Explain with CER, which is claim, evidence, and reasoning in the classroom. And this should be done for elementary since they weren't able to participate in that professional development this year. And then next is to support building leaders. I did submit a proposal for a principals academy where principals can actually dive deeper into the curriculum, learn about what it looks like for a good science lesson, what they should be looking for as they go to observe teachers in the classroom, and then also supporting principals in the support of assessment creation. And that concludes my section.
Okay, good evening, Superintendent Dr. Tanya Patton, Riverview Gardens Board of Education, colleagues, and community. Strategy 2 in the Comprehensive School Improvement Plan states that we will implement strategies to improve Tier 1 core instruction while supporting teachers within the professional learning community model. For math, our Tier 1 instructional improvement began with a comprehensive multi-pronged initiative. Central to this work was offering differentiated, equitable professional development and ongoing coaching, all aligned to a research-based math workshop model enriched by the concrete representational abstract framework. Each math block has been structured deliberately. We start with the number talk, which is a quick think, pair, share warm-up designed to spark mathematical thinking, deepen number sense, and foster discourse. This is followed by a mini lesson using the gradual release model, which transitions from teacher modeling to guided practice, peer discussion, hands-on exploration with relevant manipulatives, and independent work, culminating in an exit ticket to gauge student understanding. Based on exit ticket results, teachers immediately form differentiated small groups. Proficient students, which are those students who accurately completed the exit ticket, engage in teacher-led HMH Ready for More enrichment lessons, while those needing support receive an HMH Almost There reteach lesson led by the teacher. Simultaneously, other students independently reinforce their learning through HMH Math Journal prompts titled Put It in Writing, hands-on math centers, or using adaptive tools like Freckle to practice grade-level skills and concepts and targeted standard practice, ensuring that no student is overlooked and every learner grows. Since supporting this instructional shift requires equitable, differentiated professional development and on-site coaching, teachers across the district and grade levels received tailored professional development during PLCs and grade level teams, along with in-class modeling, lesson planning, co-teaching, observations, and feedback. Collaboration also occurred with building leaders and instructional coaches to identify needs and deliver timely support. Although this integrated approach with the research-based workshop structure and the concrete representational abstract framework, personalized professional development and coaching and district scaffolds will hopefully position us to lift instructional quality, boost student engagement, and accelerate math outcomes for every learner. Now, attached and linked to the CSIP presentation are multiple pieces of evidence for your review of some of the work that has been done and is ongoing to improve Tier 1 core instruction and student outcomes. One item in particular, most recently developed, the Math Instructional Calendar Prototype, provides explicit guidance with rigorous instruction regardless of a teacher's knowledge, skills, experience, or time in the district. Currently, the math calendars are being developed for every grade level across the district to streamline the process for all teachers to hopefully make their jobs simpler and easier to navigate. This will also, I hope, address the transient student and teacher challenges we face as a district so that regardless of which building a student transfers to, or if a teacher is experienced or a long-term substitute, the explicit lesson structure is in place to ensure minimal disruption in student learning and decrease the possibility of widening the learning gaps. Thank you.
So I'll speak about ELA in Ms. Ross's absence. So we, for the last year, all of our K-5 teachers were trained in letters, and so that speaks to our action step of implementing and applying professional development for evidence-based practices. And so again, all of our teachers K-5 went through volume 1 and volume 2 of the letters training. We actually have a cohort of about 20 teachers that still need volume 2, and so they'll get that this upcoming school year. And then we also, an action step is to establish quarterly monitoring of student performance in ELA and provide feedback. And so we do that through STAR, as Dr. Hunter alluded to. We also do that through our reading success plans, which are mandated by the state. For the middle school and high school level, we look at our Read 180 data. And then also this year, all of our librarians were trained in AR. Glasgow actually piloted 2 years ago, and so we saw a lot of growth with Glasgow. And so in collaboration with our librarians and our ELA curriculum, we take a look at our AR data for that perspective for this particular action step. And so Student Performance Committee firmly believes that all students are capable of high levels of academic growth when supported by a positive and nurturing learning environment. And we can achieve meaningful gains in student outcomes when the right supports, resources, and instructional practices are implemented with consistency and fidelity. And so again, these are some of the action steps that we looked at very deeply this year, and we'll continue to look at over the course of the next year in order to, again, audit some of the pieces in our CSIP to improve student achievement. Ms. Liddell.
Good evening. All right, so now we'll talk about our collaborative climate and cultures survey. We'll go into our goals as well as our strategies.
All right, good evening again. And I don't want to read that whole thing to you all, but you see the collaborative climate and culture belief system there, so everyone can read that. Collaborative climate and culture comprises of the following indicators: safe and caring environment, culture of high academic achievement and behavioral expectations, collaborative partnerships, parent and guardian involvement. A positive school and district climate and culture is imperative to supporting student learning. So it's definitely very important to have a good climate and culture in a school district, and that counts for students having a positive climate and culture, for staff members, and for parents and community. So one of our SMART goals By the spring of 2025, climate and culture of RGSD school community will improve by 10% as measured by a comparison of fall 2023 and spring 2024 surveys of students. By spring of 2025, student discipline and referrals will decrease by 10% as well. I'm speaking to the survey portion. Um, the first action step in terms of just getting the metrics for our climate and culture is to work with K-12 Insights to develop surveys for parents and staff members and students. And so we've done that for the past several years, held multiple surveys each year. For this year, we held a survey in the fall, a climate and culture survey. We held one in the springtime near the end of the year. And as you know, we also held demographic study surveys, and so we had lots of surveys going on this year. One of my concerns was that having the demographic study survey and the spring climate and culture survey sort of going on at the same time at the end of the year would impact, but we got a pretty good turnout from our staff and from our parents in those surveys. Action step 2, work with the collaborative cultures team to review the results of the surveys and develop action steps. The spring survey just ended at the start of June, so we're currently compiling that data. We'll be looking at that as a collaborative cultures team as well as a district leadership team to develop a plan to look at those results, but I will present some of those findings here today and share the survey results with the community. That's part of what this is. And then also as we take that deeper dive and look into it and develop the plan, we'll come back and share that with the community as well. So just a few key findings, and this is comparing the fall survey that we took to the spring one. Now, last year, we increased in our survey results from fall to spring. I was worried this year. We had a bit of a doozy at the end of the year with some things in the news, with some things with the budget. And so I thought that we were going to fall, at some point in many aspects, but we didn't. And so overall climate, when you look at staff, improved 1.4% from fall to spring. Again, that's not a huge increase, but when you take into account the budget challenges that we've had, some of the other things that were going on, I was really surprised to see that increase. Safety of environment from fall to spring, almost 5%, 4.9. This again is staff. Respect among students improved 5.2% from fall to spring. Feeling supported as staff improved 4.3% from fall to spring. And communication effectiveness, 5.5%. Again, those numbers are for staff. When you look at parents and community, overall climate, again, 1.7% increase. So pretty consistent with what the staff thought. Safety of environment improved 8% from the fall to the spring. Respect among students, 9.5% increase from fall to spring. Feeling supported as a stakeholder increased 3.2% from fall to spring, and communication effectiveness increased 8.9% from fall to spring. Looking at the student data, again, most of these improved. Overall climate, 4% increase from fall to spring. Safety of environment decreased 0.6%. So that's something that we'll look into. That's about flat, but we definitely want to make sure our students are feeling more safe. Respect among students improved 4.9% from fall to spring. Academic support, 1.1% increase, and communication effective, 2.3% increase. And again, all of these last year increased as well. So over the past 2 years, we've seen steady increases in all of these avenues. Ms. Liddell.
Okay, so for strategy 2, it is to improve the climate and culture from the district level by developing community and building activities, developing community building activities amongst staff members. So one thing that we do is we kick off the school year with a culminating activity, a community activity, which is our back to school bash. Our back to school bash is our largest event in regards to our community with our community stakeholders. The second thing we do is convocation. Convocation is always a great time among staff. It gets everyone excited and going for the school year. And from there, this year we did a trivia night. Last year we did a bowling night. We try to make sure that we listen to our staff and just kind of try different things to see what everyone is interested in to make sure that we're meeting their needs throughout the year. And then the last thing that we do, or our fourth activity, is our end of the year celebration. And our end of the year celebration is to send everyone out in a safe environment and a job well done for the school year. Through these activities, we make sure that we're reaching out for donations. Our donations are utilized for our back to school bash, as well as our end of the year and our staff. However, the majority of the donations go to students. They go to student learning for incentives, different programs, and just different things that will assist in student learning and excitement throughout the school year. Our strategy 3 is to improve the climate and culture for our opportunities for our parents. So we make sure that we have our parent universities. We survey our parents to see what they're interested in, to make sure that we're giving them the topics that they can learn from, that they're interested in, as well as anything that includes education, parenting, self-care, mental health. We also make sure that we have our parent-teacher organizations, and they're meeting monthly to develop ideas for student activities and different things that are hosted within their schools. And then we also have our parent ambassadors. So our parent ambassadors are built within our schools. We have 5 active parent ambassadors, so we're still looking for additional parent ambassadors every year. Our goal is to ensure that that all of our schools are covered, and our ultimate goal is to have a freestanding parent advisory council throughout the school district. Our next focus is strategy 4, to create district-wide pyramid of behavior interventions supporting MTSS that's monitored through PLC processes. And we have built our behavior system, and we've integrated it in with our academic system, and we're working through our attendance. This year's focus will be more on academics, since we've built the other half of the structure and just strengthening all of our MTSS systems throughout. So some of our focuses have been to increase our extracurricular activities to promote belonging, involvement, and motivation for our scholars. We've also worked hard to revise our discipline handbook and our student handbook, and then also to establish the district level and school social-emotional collaborative teams using the PLC model to analyze the data, plan interventions, and adjust strategies for effectiveness. Okay, so now for the discipline news. So one of our SMART goals was to decrease our discipline by 10% as measured by data in Pulse and SIS K-12. Last year, we rocked it out. We exceeded our goal to about 12.5%. This year, we did not exceed, or we did not meet the goal. However, we did move. So we did decrease our suspension rate by 3.55% for this year. However, we do have a plan to tighten our structures throughout, not only through our MTSS structures and our tracking tools and social emotional development, but also through professional development, and then reworking our strategies in some of our tracking tools and systems. All right, our next person up will be Khadijah T. Jan with College and Career Readiness.
Good evening. So college and career readiness ties together a wide range of academic, social, and emotional student initiatives that you've heard throughout the night and also that you'll hear following myself. And it's to promote student success after our students graduate here from Riverview Gardens. Specifically, our SMART goals focused on expanding opportunities, focused on college and career credits, also industry recognized credentials, and of course, graduation. So just not to reiterate all the things that we talked about in April, I did want to kind of talk about some of the things that we've accomplished this year. So for our post-secondary assessments, the goal was to have 75% of our students who are graduating complete a post-secondary exam. So the ACT, the ASVAB, the AccuPlacer, AP exams, and work keys. And I'm proud to say that we accomplished that goal. In fact, even with the AP exams, nationwide, the AP exam actually went down. And so our students, after they graduated, came back just so that they could take the AP exam. So that's something I feel like that it's incredible value that they have instilled in themselves and that we have kind of supported to make sure that they know that this is something that we value that they did. Our college and career coursework opportunities. We increased the number of dual credit opportunities. So dual credit is where our students take classes at the high school and they are earning college credits. So we expanded from 3 classes last year to 5 this year. And then we also increased our dual enrollment opportunities, which as you remember, we have 5 students that graduated not only with their high school diploma, but also with their associate's degree from St. Louis Community College. As we know, college and career, not all of our students want to go to college. And so we have specifically tried to make sure that we create opportunities for our students who are on the career track. So this year we have increased a lot of our students in industry recognized credentials or technical school credits to 55 students. We also achieved a state grant that allows us to pay for the Work Keys exam. If our students who score like a 3 or above on this national exam, they get what's called like the National Career Readiness Certificate. It's issued by ACT. And this year we had 65 students achieve that. So that's pretty good. We had tested 137, 65 of those students got that credential. And then, of course, the goal of all the things that we do is to lead towards graduation. So this year, what we've done, we've implemented a Freshman Success Academy and an advisory time to equip our students with stronger social and emotional and academic skills so that, number one, they are fully aware that, hey, it's not just about passing, but it's also about getting your credits, getting them in the correct areas, and then also making sure that graduation is the goal and the incentives of graduating on time and staying and sticking with it. This year, we had 258 graduates for the class of 2025. We don't know exactly what that 4-year, 5-year, 6-year rate will be until our Mississippi 6 report, but it looks very hopeful because we have a tracker, internal tracker, where we make sure that we're helping our students to take all their classes, make sure they have credits in the right classes, and then also opportunities for credit recovery if necessary. So in short, our committee has kind of demonstrated that when our students have the provided skills in terms of resources, support, and recognition, they do excel. This year, our students have $13.5 million in scholarships and counting. Last week, I already got an email saying, hey, Ms. TJ, I just got another one, which is a $12,000 scholarship that's renewable every year. So if we provide our students with the resources, they do succeed. Moving forward, our committee will continue to monitor the impact of college and career readiness, specifically with regard to ACT, SAT, work keys, and AccuPlacer scores so that we can get those Mississippi 6 points for success-ready students.
Good evening. The workforce and staffing strand of the CSIP focuses on recruitment and the retention of highly qualified, certified, and classified staff members to effectively support student learning. Ooh, it's tiny up there on the screen. So I'll go through it. This year, we've continued our efforts to recruit through universities, college community events, local recruitment fairs. However, we have kind of shifted the major portion of our recruitment to really focus on developing teacher preparation pipeline partnerships. During this year, we partnered with Lindenwood University, Maryville University, Rankin Technical College, Harris Stowe University, St. Louis University, Grand Canyon University, Moreland University, and the University of Missouri St. Louis to establish scholarship opportunities, tuition discounts, student teaching placements, and new teacher notification opportunities. Through those new teacher notification opportunities, those partnerships, we are feeding in support staff members who are interested in becoming teachers, and they are also notifying us of other teaching candidates who are close to graduation or have finished or they're willing to sign off on a provisional. And so they're notifying us first because of the partnership. So we have first access at interviewing those candidates for our teaching openings. Now let me find my place. These partnerships have been instrumental in growing our staffing pipeline. We currently have 17 of our support staff members actively enrolled in teacher preparation programs. Many of these participants are on track to receive provisional teaching certifications as early as January 2026. And this is through a program that is 100% tuition funded, our Rising Teacher Program with St. Louis University. Through our international recruitment partnerships, Jobs Connect USA, we have recruited over 50 international teachers from the Philippines, East Africa, and South Africa to fill our high needs areas within our district. So far, we are planning to welcome 12 additional international teachers for the upcoming school year. This year, we also received a $10,000 Grow Your Own grant from the state of Missouri to focus on building an educator pipeline by building bridges with our current enrolled students. Through the Grow Your Own program, we partnered in collaboration with the College and Career Readiness Department, Ms. Tijan, with our CTE department, Ms. Falls, with the STAMP program, and we were able to have 26 high school students to participate in the Grow Your Own program. Through this program, they got an opportunity to engage with local universities and colleges and explore teaching preparation pathways and the college campuses, while also being supported as they continue their tutoring efforts through the STAMP program in our elementary schools. The goal of our workforce and staffing strand is by spring 2025, the district will increase the fill rate and reduce the district's turnover rate not to exceed, well, they'll increase the fill rate by 40% and not exceed 15% for the turnover rate. And this will be measured by our annual staffing report. As of April 2025, the district had a total of 92 total vacancies across the district. That was 70 certified vacancies and 22 non-certified vacancies. Over the past 3 years, our efforts have increased our total staff vacancies fill rate by 61%. That is, there was 38% increase in filling our vacancies for certified vacancies and an 83% fill rate for filling our vacancies for our non-certified vacancies. For our first strategy, which is to establish and maintain a wellness program for employees, we have expanded our wellness offerings through the efforts of the Student Support Department, our Wellness Coordinator, our Project Aware Coordinator, our Benefits Department, and our Communications Department. Collectively, our efforts have transformed our wellness lounges, created wellness event schedules, communicated more effectively with staff members about all of the available wellness offerings throughout the district, and also communicated about the options through our district benefits to support their physical and mental health. For our second strategy of providing opportunities for staff feedback, these efforts have been heavily directed by our communications department through our staff surveys, which he just presented, through our district town hall meetings, and in collaboration with committees to focus on district and community outreach. Our third strategy of offering training for certified and non-certified staff has been in collaboration with several departments across the district. Our curriculum and instruction department takes the lead on strategically analyzing and addressing the instructional needs for our certified employees. In collaboration with all of our department leaders for support staff and training has increased the professional development and training for our clerical staff, for our administrative assistants, for our custodial staff that have been receiving a lot of additional training on the different chemicals, the uses of the machines, how to troubleshoot some of the issues, and how to better maintain our buildings. Also for our nurses, our home to school coordinators, our social emotional interventionists, and our substitute teachers, and also other groups from across the district. We have really ramped up the training and professional development for our support staff in order to meet that goal. We have also made major strides in creating department systems and starting to build manuals to improve our onboarding process for new employees. Our fourth strategy of improving recognition for a support and certified staff member has also been a collective effort with the departments from across the district. This year, we were able to host our second Support Staff Member of the Year celebration, which was in conjunction with our Teacher of the Year celebration. And this year, for the first time, we included our retirees in that celebration. Staff are recognized also by the Communications Department through Riverview Excellence and at the board meetings, 5 things you should know, digital newsletters, personal highlight interviews through our podcast, and a host of building celebrations. Through our fifth strategy, which focuses on opportunities to increase salaries and benefits, we were able to research the feasibility of salary increases and their impact on the district's finances. As a state incentive for having 169 days of attendance built into our district calendar, the district is eligible for a 1% incentive payment issued by the state to support improving our teacher salaries. This eligibility and the board's approval to allow our district to offer that 1.5% salary increase for our teachers for the 25-26 school year has also resulted in giving us an opportunity to have more feasibility for possibly recommending additional increases. As a result of this incentive, that can only be used for that large amount, which is the certified teachers within our district of our staff, it affords us the opportunity to consider salary increases for support staff and administrators, which will be recommended later on in this meeting. The Staffing and Workforce Committee believes that recruitment and retention of exceptional staff is paramount to enhancing the growth and academic achievement of our students. We also believe that by investing in the professional development and growth of our culture and climate within the district, that we can really improve the feeling and transform the learning of our students. To effectively fulfill these objectives outlined in MSIP 6, the committee is dedicated to monitoring and implementing strategic actions related to recruitment, recognition, retention, staff wellness, and onboarding as outlined in the CSIP strategy. Next, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Nave with attendance.
I won't be before you long. I come before you this evening to present the attendance data for our district CSIP plan. As has been communicated throughout the year, the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education sets an expectation for all school districts that, say it with me, 90% of its scholars attend school 90% of the time. The state calculates our attendance based on the hours of absence method. Simply put, if a student reports to school late each day, leaves early each day, skips class, or is improperly marked as absent for a class period, this will all impact a scholar's attendance and thus the points that we receive towards our accreditation. So our SMART goal was set and is as follows: increase the proportional attendance, 90% of the students attending 90% of the time percentage by 20% annually. That would have been 54% in 2024, 65% in 2025, and 80% by 2026. In 2023, we ended with a proportional attendance rate of 45.8%. In 2024, we ended with a proportional rate of 49.5%. Preliminary numbers list our 2025 proportional attendance rate at 50.3%. While we are showing incremental growth, we have yet to meet that 20% proportional attendance increase goal across the district. When I reviewed the calculation and how we earn points towards accreditation for proportional attendance, I wanted to break this down for you even further. We earn 1 point for all students who earn 90% or higher for their proportional attendance. For the 2025 school year, this included 2,060 students in that category. We earn 0.5 or half a point for students at the proportional attendance range of 87.5 to 89.9%. For the 2025 school year, this included 485 scholars in that category. We only earned 0.25 or a quarter of a point for scholars with a proportional attendance rate of 85 to 87.49%. For the 2025 school year, this included 314 scholars in that category. The state does not assign any attendance points for any scholar who has earned less than an 85% proportional attendance rate. This is the equivalent of 1,800 scholars in our district. Scholars, we need you at school. Parents, we need you to have these scholars at school. If they're not at school, they're not learning, they're not growing, they're not graduating on time. As we reflect on the 24-25 school year, we acknowledge we did not meet that goal. But this year, we are fully committed with our new focus system that will have some additional components that will allow us to further set goals that will make sure that we have accuracy in our reporting. We're also talking with our departments to ensure that we are not just rolling over students and that we have students in our new system who are actually registered for our district. That's been a challenge for us as well. We have had scholars who are simply rolled over and we end up having to account them as absent until they actually show up. So if a student does not come in until after Labor Day, they've accumulated all of those absences that goes towards our attendance points. So what I want to say is, again, we've had probably about 20 board meetings where attendance has been mentioned. We've had newsletters, we've pleaded out to our families and our community, but also to our staff members to make sure that they are marking attendance appropriately, because that's also an issue. When students are late or students comes in and a teacher forgets to go back and mark that student as tardy instead of absent, that kills us on our attendance. If a student is sitting in an office meeting with a principal or a counselor and they don't mark them as detained, they're marked absent in the classroom, that hurts our attendance. Every time that a parent comes to pick up a student early for a dentist appointment or a doctor's appointment, that hurts our attendance. So we implore and we ask everyone, our community, our staff, our parents, our families, to make sure that we're getting students in school on time each day for the full day so that we can do better and meet those 90% attendance goals. This concludes our CSIP presentation. We will entertain any questions that you have at this point.
Ms. Lane?
Oh, me? Well, okay.
That's because you're the last one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I will be
No.
concise.
Yes.
And I'm really asking for advice. Every time I go to my community's board meeting, I'm constantly talking about attendance. So much so that I'm accused of harping on it. So, and that the audience that I'm talking to probably probably don't have school-age children. But we have people who listen on Zoom as well. So I'm assuming some of those are parents who do have children. So how do we, how do, how do we get this message to everybody that this is all of our responsibilities? I tell you what I've told them is that even if you don't have children, if you see a child who's at home in the middle of the day on a regular basis, you need to call and tell somebody. I just don't, because everything that, first of all, you all did a wonderful job, but if we don't have the children in school, it doesn't benefit any of us. So what else can we do?
If I had the answer,
Yes.
Ms. Lane, I could go around the world to help other school districts, but what we can do is we need to get back to community. If my neighbor saw me standing outside when at a time that I was supposed to be in school, she'd definitely let my parent know or get me to school. So we've got to get back to taking that village back to say, hey, if you see someone, and I know sometimes people say, I don't want to go and impose and make someone think
Right.
that I'm, in their business, but we've got to get in each other's business because we've got to succeed. We've got to grow as a community. And doing that means that we've got to say, hey, did you know that every time that your child is out of school, they're missing on valuable instruction? Just something to let them know that this is important. It's important in kindergarten, just as it is important at the 12th grade level when they're there for graduation. You want that. All of those foundational skills start at kindergarten. They start at pre-K to make sure that they're getting those skills. And so we just need to keep saying that. Every time we get in front of a parent, every time a principal gets in front of a group of parents, every time any person is in front of a family member of this district, we need to implore how important attendance is. It's important for us, not only for their child to learn and to grow academically, socially. We have a lot of kindergartners who lack that school readiness skills because they just have not been around other students. And we need them coming. And a lot of them, I see when I go into the schools, when I'm talking to the principals, they're coming in late every day because they don't believe that kindergarten is really important. So they either come in late every day or they're picking them up early. So we've got to just continue to get that message out there.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. We just got to keep getting out and can't be scared. We've got to say it.
And we've even partnered with our elected officials within the area to see, to kind of ask them for help. How do we get our students to school? We've gone to their meetings to talk about it at the public meetings. Each of the DLT staff are assigned to buildings. They go out to the schools when there are events at the school to talk about attendance. And we just keep saying it over and over and over and over. Part of the problem for Riverview Gardens, and I don't offer excuses because we can get them to school, is the lack of sidewalks in our community. If we had more sidewalks, so that's part of, I believe that's part of it. When I've spoken with parents, they've said, especially when it's raining or snowing, they're concerned about how cars are driving on the road. And so I agree with Ms. Nave in just partnering with our families, but we have, done everything that we can possibly think of. We provide everything a child could possibly need to be at school: food, clothing, book bags, backpacks, whatever they need.
Laundry service.
We have for them. We have for them. So we will continue to work on that, Ms. Lane, and continue to figure out how do we get our parents. As I've said before in board meetings, we've done everything but knock on the door and ask for the child. Can I please take your baby to school? And so we will continue to research. And I think someone said it earlier, this is a nationwide problem. It really is, especially after the pandemic.
I was gonna make a comment, based on a discussion that I had with my mother. My mother was a child advocate through the courts. She visited home of parents that were in the process, or being threatened to lose their kids because of some of their actions. And then when they complied, to help those parents get their children back. So looking at the figures that we were looking at, some parents are basically doing educational neglect.
Mhm.
And they may not be aware of what educational neglect is. And so I just wrote down here, might cost us a couple of dollars, but parents really need to understand what educational neglect is. And that you stand, and this is not for parents, I'm not saying this for parents that may be receiving aid. This is for all parents. That's illegal. And I think that we might need to take the time to maybe send something to the parents to show them their children's attendance, let them know that they are committing educational neglect and that it's illegal, and it could be, the ramifications of that could be very serious. And so even parents that are knowledgeable parents, I think that maybe we need to explain that to them. This is very serious. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So.
Absolutely.
One more question, please, regarding the suspension rate. I can't remember who the presenter was, but it was, Ms. Liddell. I think you said it had decreased 3.55%.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but then I wrote some big numbers down there,
Yes.
like over 7,000. So
Mhm.
you're counting each incident.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have 5,000, a little over 5,000, 5,400 students, right? And if I've got 7,000 suspensions,
Yes, ma'am.
I can do the little bit of math.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to assume that it's not, everybody doesn't have one suspension. I'm going to assume there's only a few people, students who are being suspended multiple times.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that, so what do one time I went to a program that you had where I was introduced to the restorative. Yes.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was so moved by that.
Mhm.
So those students who have these multiple, the multiple, suspensions, are we targeting those students?
Yes, ma'am. So many of those students are, they take the actual restorative class. So we have three levels, or three different places where our restorative are actually housed. But our restorative program is K through 12. So there are classes, restorative classes that are at Central Middle, Westview, and the high school where students are enrolled in that class and it's an elective for the semester.
Oh.
And if I didn't get what I need first semester, then I might be in there again second semester. However, the classes are kind of tiered. So there are students in there that are doing great. There are students that have high discipline, and then there are students that are kind of mid-level, where they're having that communication. We also have our self-love program, where Sultan Muhammad takes some of our students that have some of those highest suspension rates and works with them to turn them around. This year, we've talked a lot. We actually had an MTSS meeting today where we talked a lot about the tiering of students and individualized groups, not just for academics, but also for our social, emotional, and behavioral pieces as well, where we need to do a better job at looking at those students that have those high numbers of suspensions and putting them in groups and different things like that. So I was over there kind of pulling the data and looking at that as well, because it's not enough just for our restorative team to do it. And even with our social emotional learning and behavior, it's not enough for our counselors to do it, right? We need to be able to speak the language across all areas to make sure that everybody is saying the same thing and we're walking in one accord. Also, another thing that we've looked at within our restorative program is whenever something takes place or occurs, a lot of times now, since we've had the program, since we've had the program, we've been growing the program, a lot of our students will come in and say, hey, may I have a circle? Hey, I have this issue. Can I have a circle? And at the high school, we had a saying said, and the saying was, pop in before you pop off, right? So we're teaching those emotional regulation skills. We're giving students a place to go to say, hey, a safe place to say, hey, I'm having an issue. Can you pull in another student and talk to us and different things like that? A lot of our challenges are taking place not necessarily at the school, but it's spilling over back into the school because it may start on social media or it may start within the neighborhoods. And with even with our restorative team, we've had very large circles where might have had like 15 to 20 people. And for those circles where we have every parent of every student that's involved in a situation that has taken place in the neighborhood on social media and is beginning to spill back over. Yes, ma'am.
And thank you for for acknowledging that it goes into the community, because what the community thinks is we aren't doing anything. Why aren't we teaching our students, our young people, how to solve the problems better than all these fights that you hear about? And they're trying to blame us, and I don't think that's fair, but that's what's happening.
And it's very hard because they have computers in their hand, and a lot of times they're watching fights and different things that take place, you know, on social media and different things like that. And they're believing or they're seeing this is how I resolve problems. So they come in to say, okay, this is what I know to do. So we're giving them the corrective behavior and that replacement behavior to say, no, this is actually not how you solve conflict. These are the things, these are the steps that you take, and this is how you solve the conflict.
There was a report, last thing, last year, there were 48 attorneys, states attorneys generals who asked the US Attorney General to put a warning on, some social media platforms, sort of like how we used to do, how they did with cigarettes and stuff like that, that said if you expose too much, it'll cause this kind of harm or what have you. I think we should kind of try to push that a little bit.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Ford, I noticed on your presentation toward the end when you were talking about salary increases, you had the 24, 25 information there. Just want to make sure that, because that was a different increase, make sure that we have the correct information that the board is voting on. 1.5. You had 3. 1.5 words on salary. You had in your presentation, you had a 3% increase. But that was a 24, 25. Yeah, the information. All right.
Dr. Mays. I have a general interest. I think Ms. Nave touched on it, and I know that Ms. Tejan normally touches on it. The actual calculations projecting what our MSIP could possibly be. That is very helpful for accreditation. Is that something that the board can get for all the areas of MSIP, what we project based on the data? And I think that will let us know whether or not we're moving towards accreditation and we're still at the same level or moving backwards, just so that we can really have an idea before the data comes out from the state. It's my main thing, but everything that you all presented was really great, but getting that data would be helpful.
Yeah, yes. We will get it to him, Ms. Dave, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Ford, that was on strategy 5 with Dr. Coleman. And I have a question too about the same slide. Okay.
Go to the microphone.
On that strategy, that portion was saying what we did in 23, 24, we were able to do a 3% increase for all staff members in the 24, 25 school year. And for this school year, we've been able to research it. So in my narrative that I was saying we researched it for this school year, and the incentive was for this school year going into the upcoming school year, the 25-26 school year. And so those salary increases of 1.5 have been approved by the board for teachers, and it gave us the feasibility to start researching and make a recommendation later in this meeting for the upcoming school year. So, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Ford, my question is about the tuition support and scholarship program partnerships. You may have said this, I was taking a lot of notes.
Okay, okay.
As you were speaking. So how many staff members have participated in the Lindenwood University, the 20% tuition, and the St. Louis University 100% tuition, and then at Grand Canyon University and Moreland University? How
So I don't have the numbers on Moreland,
Okay.
Grand Canyon yet.
Okay.
Because this was the first year of that partnership with them, so I'll have to get that additional information from them. In terms of Lindenwood, we've only had a report of 2 staff members who've actually taken advantage of it or reported back to us. We've reached out to the different principals, we've reached out to staff members about that information so that we can get how many staff members or how many support staff members had been participating in teacher preparation programs. Some of them we know because they have reached out to human resources, but some of them, most of them, the principals know because the principals have also been pushing them programs to fill those vacancies and to recruit and retain within those buildings. In terms of the SLU program, we originally had 12 participants in that program. And because of different factors, those numbers have declined. And so we currently had, and when I say had, in April, we had 6 candidates that were still in the SLU program. And as of maybe 2 or 3 days ago, I got a report that now we're down to 5. Some of them have removed themselves from that program because that program focuses on first grade through 6th grade elementary certifications. And so some of our support staff members who have started in those programs, who are very interested in it, have decided they really want to get a certification outside of the parameters of that program. It also gives you a certification in special education. And so we have a support staff member who really wants to be, we have a few that want to be certified in PE, physical education. Well, that support staff member did it last year, but as they're moving into this year, they've been looking for other programs that'll get that certification. And so they just started in another teacher preparation program in another university. And so they're still working on that, just not through that program. So that's why we've had some movement and some transition.
Okay, thank you. And then my next question is about the high school program, the Grow Your Own program. Excuse me. And that's a great program for the students, the high school students, who are doing the tutoring. Which schools did they tutor at?
So I would have to go back and pull the information to get exactly which ones. I know they were doing tutoring at Highland. I believe they were doing tutoring at Danforth. Go ahead.
Let's go.
They go to 4 different elementary schools.
Glasgow.
Okay.
Okay.
They go to these elementary schools, for almost, 2 hours, and they are assigned a teacher. And they kind of help that teacher with whatever lesson it is. So they're doing math that particular hour. They're kind of helping students with those strategies of how to learn, better math skills. And they do that. And then those hours also count toward their 8+ hours to get the 8+ scholarship.
Okay, and how do they get there? Do they provide their own transportation?
Yes. So, a few years ago, Student Board Rep Precious Berry really pushed for our district to support this initiative by providing transportation to these sites.
Okay, that's great. I love, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Well, one thing I just want to add, they also help with pulling small groups as well.
Okay.
That program had already been established. I knew about that program when I was at the high school. I thought it was fabulous. When Ms. Lorero was spearheading it. But by getting this grant funds in, we were able to support them with books, book bags, additional journals, some teacher books, different manipulatives that they need for those students. And we were also able to fund some field trips out to those teacher preparation programs so that they can explore and ask questions and then get a feel for those campuses. So.
Great. Thank you.
All right, thank
And
you.
my next question is for Dr. Mott. Okay, Dr. Mott, I love that math calendar. The math calendar. So is that something that was just taken from like the math curriculum, or did you all actually develop that? I mean, how did that come about? I love the math calendar.
Okay, I had been collaborating with Janet Nuzzi. She's one of the Solution Tree math coaches. And in one of our collaborations, she had shared what she was doing in her district. And it just kind of stuck in my head. And then over the summer, for the third, fourth, and fifth grade teachers, I created a calendar so that they would know what they were doing every single day. And they loved it. And so I thought, well, I should do it for, the whole district. So I just started doing it. And I did it for third grade and I shared it with certain people. And so as of right now, I've done kindergarten, I've done K through 5, and I want to work on 6 through 8 this week. And, I want to do it up through algebra.
Okay,
So
nice. Do you have any teachers or instructional coaches helping you with that, or?
I have shared it with a couple principals requesting feedback. And I shared it with an instructional coach just today, actually, trying to get some feedback.
Okay.
But
Great
I haven't really
idea.
gotten any feedback from them, but that's okay.
Okay, great idea. Thank you. I
You're
love
welcome.
that.
But I have been giving it back and forth to Janet Nuzzi
Mhm.
and saying, what do you think of this? And then she gives me some more feedback and I make some more revisions. What do you think of this?
Mhm.
So I'm just trying to make it as streamlined as possible, like a one-stop shop for the teachers, so that whether they just started in that classroom, they know exactly what to do, what lesson they're on, what module to use,
Right.
and all that stuff.
I like that. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, Dr. Buchanan, is, the other ELA calendars and then science calendars, or is the math department the only?
No, so actually, when I started, I did like an audit of the written curriculum and recognized that there were some pieces that were missing from the actual resources that the board approved. And so I've asked the coordinators to align the written curriculum with the actual resources. And so the calendar was also birthed from that. ELA also did one, and then science has an entire science website where it looks very similar to that. So the teachers know exactly what they're supposed to be teaching on the day, what the standards and the resources, how it's aligned to that actual piece as well. So it's happening across all content areas.
Thank you. Science for me. Dr. Jordan. I just want.
Madam Chair, I just want to thank Ms. Jordan and Ms. Buchanan for your service towards the district. I know she mentioned this was going to be her last meeting. I don't know if it will be yours, but thank you all so much for what you've contributed to the district.
All right, and I do want to, I don't want us to miss, I know we have a lot of work to do. Our theme this year was,
We got work,
we've got work to do. Our next year theme is?
got work to do.
Exactly. And so the data that Dr. Hunter presented, Ms. Harris presented, we are getting there. We can do this. And this shows that if we can have our students at school, we can teach them. We can teach them. Parents, please send them. Staff, great job. Great job. This doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens because a lot of people are committed to what Riverview needs to do. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now we can go, that was only the second thing on the information item. All right, moving to the next item for information is Mr. Carl Scheid. He's the Executive Director of Food Facilities and Food Service. He is giving an update on Prop S spending, and this is in conjunction with Policy FB Facilities Planning. Mr. Scheid?
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Patton, colleagues and community. Tonight I've come before you with an update on the Prop S projects. The goal of this presentation is ultimately to provide some visual updates of our projects, share information on the status or completion of the projects, and provide information on upcoming projects. So moving on, as we're aware, we have had the ballot initiative, which was a 25 million no tax rate increase bond issue to address the items listed on the slide here as it relates to our facilities and needs for improvements. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of dive into this. We're going back a ways. This project, which was Westview HVAC, started last summer, actually. That's when we began working on that project. And it's still continuing today and will conclude at the end of the summer. And if you walk into Westview right now, it is scary, but it's going to be okay. So let me say that, because as you walk in there right now, there are no ceilings in any of the hallways. So, but they will be in place for the start of school. So I'm going to kind of talk about why. So as I said, we started this back last year. We started by replacing some of the rooftop units that serve areas like the library, the band room, the cafeteria, the gymnasium. So we replaced, many of those. There were 8 of the single zone units. There were 3 large rooftop units, which were the gym and the cafeteria, which are all replaced, up and running. All that has been completed. We have all the neutral air units, which bring fresh air into the building. All of those have been replaced and are operational. So they're bringing fresh air into the building. So the big thing that we're working on right now is replacing the 87 water source heat pumps. So that serves every classroom, office areas, and other auxiliary spaces. So how that one was approached was they actually just finished replacing all the units on the top floor, and they're working on the main floor. So actually, as of next week, they're going to start putting the ceilings back in the hallways upstairs while they work their way through the first floor in terms of replacing those units. And this is being done in conjunction with replacing the fluid cooler. The fluid cooler is the device that actually creates the cooling for all the heat pump units. So they're all piped together. And so the fluid cooler is actually being replaced this week. So they will fire it up. They'll test all of the top floor units, get those fine tuned, and continue on the first floor units. So it's going to be, there's a lot of work to do, but we're making good progress. All the materials are in place. Things are flowing well. There's no hiccups or surprises on the horizon at this point, because all materials, all supplies are there. And then, and as part of this, they're upgrading our automation and energy control system that runs the programs and so forth for our HVAC. So we'll get better efficiency out of that as well. So this will all be completed before the start of school. These are just pictures of, you could see the hallways. We've stripped the ceilings out. So if you want to see the inner workings of a school, go ahead and stick your head in the hallways at Westview, and you'll see all that's going on above the ceiling, along with a lot of work. Okay, moving on, we're going to go to the high school building envelope project. So this was brought to the board previously as well. This is where we were looking at things such as curbs and parking lot repairs and painting and the exterior of the gym. So so actually the picture on the left here is a photo of the gym wall being refurbished. So and actually if you go by there, if you would go by there tomorrow, you can see most of the bricks in place on that wall. So great progress has been made there. So just to kind of summarize things, you can see we've done some painting of the exterior of the buildings as well. So it gives a nice fresh pop. Just to put it in perspective, the same scene 2 months ago would have been rusty metal that you would be seeing there versus the bright blue colors. So it's definitely bringing a little bit of a pop of life back to things. So the parking lot repairs and curb repairs have been completed. Tennis court demolition has been completed, and they just did another round of hydro seeding so that we can grow in that area with grass. Gym wall facade replacement is underway. Again, you're welcome to swing by the high school and see that. The gym roof retrofit is going to begin in July, and that'll be July and August, and should wrap up at the start of school. Exterior painting throughout is basically completed. They're doing a little bit on building 9 right now, but they've made their way around the exterior of the buildings. And then we have design services for the building 9 screen walls. they've given us some things to select, so now it's being priced out, and then that will come back to the board for an approval as well. Again, we've just done, a lot of painting and improvements around the campus to really, bring a little bit of life back to the exterior parts of the campus. It was looking a little rough, but it's turning the corner, so. Next, I'm going to move on to the Lemasters HVAC replacement. This actually took place it was last fall, and we actually knocked most of it out over Thanksgiving break. We replaced 12 rooftop units that serve approximately 18 different classroom areas, which are all listed here. So that gave us a comprehensive replacement of most of those units. They were all, as you recall, they were all at end of life, and some were quasi-functional. So now we have fresh, more efficient units, and we did receive a rebate from Ameren for that project as well. Moving on, Glasgow HVAC replacement, that's underway this week. That's actually why we're having the meeting in here tonight. Originally, it was scheduled to be at Glasgow, but because our air conditioning was not working and the new one was not in place, that's why we decided to schedule it here. So that's underway currently, and as well as addressing one of the classrooms that did not have a heating and cooling system in it. So that is in progress and will be completed basically by mid-July. So, okay, so next area is secure entry vestibules. So what you're seeing here is these are just being framed off. So anytime you got to build something, you have to frame it off first. So the picture to the left is actually Michelle Obama. The center picture is Coke, and the picture on the right is Westview. So obviously it doesn't look very inviting at this time, but it's because it's a skeleton at this point. So they're running electric, they're waiting for materials to come in, they're going to obviously put walls and lights and other things to make it more inviting. While this is something that we don't necessarily embrace, it's something that we have to address. It's an obligation that we have to our students and to our staff to make sure that we do what we can to give them a safe and secure environment. So while we'd all like to channel this to other projects that would, be much more exciting, it's a necessity of the world we live in today. So that is progressing along. So again, this kind of summarizes where we're going to build the vestibules. So they're all in progress. So all vestibules will be completed by the end of the summer, except for central services, because this one actually requires us to do a little bit of asbestos abatement when there's not going to be people around. So we have to kind of delay that one so that it doesn't impact staff here. And then since the board has just taken action on school closure, we still have to address the remaining school, which is Lewis and Clark. So that will commence, but so it may not be 100% online for the start of school, but it would be following shortly thereafter. And in addition to that, we have work going on over at Central Middle in order to make that secure entry vestibule. We're also addressing getting into the building. As you're aware, we had those old decrepit steps that were crumbling and falling down with the rusted railing and so forth. As you can see in this photo, that's been demolished, and if you swing by there tomorrow or sometime this week, you'll see progress is being made there. So that will all be replaced. They're going to get rid of our lava rock on the front there too. So, and they will be installing an ADA accessible switchback ramp as well. So our students, our staff will be able to get into the building with a legit ADA accessible ramp. And then of course there will be a secure entry vestibule inside that set of doors. Moving on, we're going to talk about exterior lighting, which obviously has come before you in two different packages, Part A and Part B. So basically, first of all, let me just point out, there's just this, in these photos, we have Westview on the left and Meadows on the right, which it's substantial improvement in the exterior lighting just by replacing these fixtures and enhancing the lighting in all of our sites. So it's definitely a night and day improvement. As these packages were laid out, it was basically to replace all existing light fixtures with LED light fixtures. We added more fixtures, and then we were also adding large parking lot lights, which, as you can see in this photo, here's where they're installing one of them at Central Middle. So part A was basically every school but the high school, and then part B was addressing the high school as well as taking down the light poles. So where we're at is all of these schools, we've replaced all the exterior lights at all of the schools in part A. We're still working on the pole lights, so those are still underway. And then in terms of part B, they've started at the high school, replacing the exterior building lights. They will still be, they're still actually, right now, they're running with all the utilities to make sure that we have clear spaces so that they can then start boring all the wiring underground in order to start the light poles at the high school. And then in the fall, what will happen is we will then start the process of removing the Ameren light poles that are throughout our campuses. That's where we will eliminate some of that operational costs that we're paying to Ameren on a monthly basis. So again, this will put us on proper footing in terms of our lighting and remove some of that operating cost. Moving on to transportation. So again, this project consisted of milling and paving, both the front and the back lot of transportation. That's all been completed. And we were fortunate that we did not have any underlying issues as it relates to our underground surfaces. So no surprises were found there. So I'm happy to report that. Perimeter fencing has been completed as well. Our fuel pumps they've arrived in St. Louis, and they're going to be installed in July. So then that will wrap up that project. ADA accessibility and door replacement. This is obviously a package that has come to the board recently, and this is going to basically take about a year. So at this point, they are validating door measurements and launching those orders to get the doors ordered. And how this will transpire is as follows. They will work throughout the year, but they're going to work on second shift. So consider it, they're going to come in around 3 p.m., mobilize and work in the evening hours and systematically work, through our buildings, replacing the doors. And then that way it won't interfere with school and any functionality that we, need to have. So, and then they'll obviously try to take advantage of any school holidays or breaks that we have as well by augmenting their forces in order to make progress on that. And then as it relates to ADA accessibility, obviously our biggest challenge is Central Middle School. So there we're going to be obviously putting in ADA accessible parking, an elevator, chair lift, ADA accessible restrooms, and then as well as an ADA locker room space. So all those are in progress as it relates to ordering materials, finalizing design work, getting permits, and so forth, so that those can proceed. And again, those will proceed throughout the year. And obviously, I will work hand in hand with the school, with the school leadership team, just to make sure that we have a safe environment for the kids each and every day. And then moving on from that, this was a recent thing that has been approved, which was the Lemasters Library roof section. It actually starts at the library, extends forward up to the main office. We have Gateway Roofing that's over there this week. They're at it, making progress there. So again, that's expected to be wrapped up in July. Window shades, that's something we started a while ago, and we've completed all the schools listed on the top bullet point. We're wrapping up some odds and end loose ones that we needed to get at Gibson and then Lemasters, and then those should be wrapped up. And so we will complete all the window shade replacements throughout the district. So then let's move on to upcoming projects, which really consist of planning and pricing. So these are not finalized. So these are things that will be coming to the board for approval. So we will be addressing some athletic field improvements, which is ultimately going to be performing next summer. So we'll be bringing packages to the board, probably fall, winter, in order to get it started in the spring and completed by the summer. Site fencing, again, that's something that we will be starting in terms of getting the packages together in order to start the work in the spring. We have the high school welcome center and command center that we need to still flesh out some details on that as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we have the high school building 9 facade, which would also be in the summer 2026. So I know I've done a lot of talking, but I will now open it up for questions if you have any.
Couple of questions. Central Middle School, those steps that you're tearing down, are you just gonna rebuild them? And we still have to walk that steep to get up to the
Yeah,
building?
so those steps will be rebuilt, but we will also have an ADA accessible ramp. So if you're not wanting to take all those steps and you're wanting to take a smoother transition up, this ramp will be, while there is a lot of ramp, but
Ramp.
it's gonna be a ramp
Okay.
that will get individuals up if they don't wanna approach it through the stairs or if they're not able to, so.
Okay, and then the transportation, the bus depot, I don't remember us talking about that. Was there a problem that we had to fence that area in on Chambers?
Yeah, so the intent was to actually, to give us better use and versatility of the space. Because we actually have issues there sometimes with people that are roaming up and have messed with the bus drivers' cars and so forth. So
okay.
we've historically had some challenges there. So the intent was to make that more secure for the staff there. And it gives us more versatility of the space because especially in the wintertime, when we need to plow the snow where the buses are parked, we can now flip the buses to the front lot, allowing us to plow the backs efficiently and then to plow the front. So strategically, it works out better, as it relates to snow removal and so forth. And it gives us the ability to store things, in on that lot and know that it's secure as well, so.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. All right. Oh,
Yes.
Is that Central Middle one up there? You got the steps on this side, and steps on that side.
mhm.
Okay, when you, the little security buildings that you're doing in the, audience, now they have two sides to it. Are you doing it on both sides?
So we're doing it on one side. So as you go up the front steps, if you go to the left, that will be deemed the main entrance. And so that's where all visitors will come. So right now we admit students actually through several doors, but our secure entry vestibule will be up the stairs and to the left and then
So the other side with library, that locked?
that's always locked, yes.
Be able to get it in there.
They're not going in that way. The only time we let anybody in that is when we're bringing in the students in the morning, because we basically, how we separate by grade level, 6th, 7th, and 8th all come in different doors. So we'll admit the students the way we always have, but the secure entry vestibule will be as you go up the stairs and make the left and enter the building there adjacent to the cafeteria. Yeah.
Get in on the side.
Should not be coming in that door. They will be secure.
One more question. Regarding all of that HVAC stuff that you showed us, do we have staff that's gonna be trained in how to maintain all of that? Or
Yes.
We have staff, not that
We're
we're
not, we don't have,
contract.
we have our contracted staff at this point because we have not secured HVAC staff at this point.
We're
So
still looking for that?
We are, the board voted to increase the salary, the hourly wage for it, and we are still looking for people to apply.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Coleman?
yes.
Dr. Coleman, pull your mic down and turn it on so we can hear you. Thank you.
So the ramp will be on both sides, is that correct?
So it's actually going to be on the left. So as you approach the stairs, it's going to be on the left-hand side.
I think like right now, isn't there something on the right?
That is a ramp, but it's not a legit ramp. It was kind of a makeshift ramp that it's not on the up, and it's gonna come out. So, because it's not compliant.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Scheid. We are on our last item for discussion. I need everybody to be a little bit more succinct moving forward so that we can, and we still have to go back into executive session. So let me, what'd you say? Oh, item for information, I'm sorry. Last item up for information is the Back to School Bash, and this is being presented by Deirdre Liddell, and this is related to community engagement.
Greetings to the Riverview Garden Board of Education, Dr. Patton, colleagues and community. Dr. Patton has already announced this for our back to school bash. The announcement that I want to make again is there will be no registration at back to school bash. Please make sure that all scholars are registered before back to school bash in order to receive incentives. Again, it will be July 31st from 6 to 8. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Liddell. Moving into our items for discussion. Our first item up for discussion is the AMI plan. Making this presentation is Ms. Tiffany Buchanan. She's the Assistant Superintendent of C&I, and this is in conjunction with Policy IC Academic Calendar. Ms.
Good evening,
Buchanan?
good evening again, board members, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and members of our community. In accordance with the Missouri statute, section 171.033, districts will not be required to make up school hours that are lost or canceled due to exceptional or emergency circumstances up to 36 hours if the district implements an alternative methods of instruction plan that is approved by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. The documents attached outline the expectations for teachers, staff, and students during the AMI day, as well as articulates inclement weather expectations to our families. It is recommended that the Board of Education adopts the 25-26 AMI plan for the district. In addition, it is also recommended that the board grants approval to submit the yearly AMI online application to DESE each year for state approval. A recommendation for approval will be presented later during this meeting. Are there any questions?
No, the AMI plan. Is the AMI plan attached to it?
It is. There's two documents. It doesn't look like it looked in years past because in years past, it resembled Zoom sessions. So there's one document that says AMI for buildings, and then the other one is for the district website.
Yeah, so those are the two.
Yes.
Looking for that. About the AMI days, have all the kinks been worked out in terms of, this might not be a question for you, it might be a question for technology, but do all of our students now have devices like Chromebooks, and do all of our students have access to Wi-Fi and everything that they need on those AMI days?
So this year they did. There were some things that took place with legislation, so we would have to address to make sure that all of our students have access to hotspots. We won't be able to provide them in the way that we did this year, but all of our scholars will still have access to hotspots and things like that with their Chromebooks. The other thing that I noted in this year's AMI plan is that how the state allows us to capture attendance is the next day that we're in school after an AMI plan or after an AMI day. And so some buildings upload those things into Google Classroom in advance of the AMI day, and/or they send home packets for students so that when they come back to school, they turn in those packets, and that's how attendance can be captured per the state, actually.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Dr. May, do you have any?
Yes, I would like to make a motion per the request of the superintendent to move item J up in the presentation.
To the next item, to item B.
To item D. B.
Okay. Our next item up for discussion, do they need to vote on that? We need a second.
Is Ms. Shea back there?
No, she's not. We need a second. She told me to make it. Maybe I
Yeah,
misunderstood.
we may, since we approved it the way that it is, maybe.
Okay.
I can restate it. I move that we, move item J to B under items for discussion.
We have a second. Second. Okay. Mhm.
Shay had to step out. We have the representative here and we wanted just to make sure she was here when the item was discussed.
Yeah, we can record it and give it to us.
So the motion has been made to move item J, which is the STEM IT MOU, to item B on the agenda by Dr. May, and it has been seconded by Ms. Jackson. Okay. All right. There's no discussion. Shay, can you do a roll call vote, please? Sure.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. The motion passes.
Okay, our next item up for discussion is the STEM MOU. Making this presentation is Dr. Tasha Jordan, our science coordinator. Dr. Jordan?
Good evening, Board of Education, Superintendent Patton, colleagues, and community. I'm Dr. Tasha Jordan, the current Science Curriculum Coordinator.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Penner. Good evening. My name is Barbara Penner. I am the STEM Integration Project Manager for Washington University's Institute for School Partnership.
I'm really excited to present this to the board. So STEM integration is a professional development opportunity offered by WashU's Institute for School Partnership. Ms. Penner will visit the district to work with teachers, the instructional coach, and principal at Koch Elementary at no cost to the district. This professional development aims to support teachers in integrating STEM into classroom instruction to improve students' academic achievement in science and to support the district's goals of college and career readiness. Are there any questions?
Just, Madam Chair, just a quick question. And you were saying, how will the teachers be identified? Like how to participate? Do they self-select and say they want to, or is there a process?
There's not a process, so all of the teachers at Koch will be participating. This was also done at Westview Middle School this past school year, and all the science teachers and library media specialists were opted to participate. So at Koch, it'll be all of the teachers.
Okay.
Grade level teachers.
Okay.
You wanted to say something?
Yes, I worked with, as Tasha just mentioned, the science teachers and the library media specialists at Westview this year. And as part of year one, this is an ongoing program, so they will also benefit from a year two program, which will focus more on bringing technology and devices and concepts into the classroom. So we'll work with Koch Elementary for year one and Westview for year two. Again, waiving all fees for the district.
All right, thank you, ladies. Thank you, thank you. Our next, by the way, we like waiving all fees. We liked that, so thank you. Our next item up for discussion is our proposed 2026 budget. Making this presentation is Ms. Stephanie Terry and Mr. Randy Charles. Thanks, yeah, thank you. This is in conjunction with our policy DB annual budget. Ms. Terry?
Okay, greetings, Board President, members of the board, superintendent, and guests. I'm just gonna let you guys know I'm struggling because I can't see out of my second pair of glasses, so I'm gonna do my best. So I'm pleased to present the proposed FY 25-26 budget for Riverview Garden School District. You all have a copy of the budget. The budget reflects our unwavering commitment to fiscal responsibility and student achievement. Early in the school year, there was a projected deficit of $23 million. Today, we have minimized that to 17.3 projected ending this year, and projected 7.6 million ending 25-26. So work has been done, but in alignment with the MSEP, we still have work to do. So the purpose of the budget to provide context. A budget document is required by Missouri law that outlines our estimated revenues and expenditures, capital outlay, debt service, and fund balances. The budget is a working document that will be adjusted as needs evolve during the school year. The budget was developed based on known revenue and expenditure assumptions, as well as alignment with the district's CSIP plan, stakeholder feedback, and financial trends. So the key budget themes for this year and moving forward: resilience and responsibility, adjusting after the expiration of ESSER funds, strategic investment, focusing on academic support, safe schools, and staff recruitment, efficiency and transparency, prioritizing core services while reducing non-essential spending. So some of the financial highlights: FY26 budget reflects a decline in total revenue due to the sunset of federal funds. Our major cost pressures, as we know: staff allocations, 18.8% increase in employee benefits, 9% increase in insurance premiums. These increases intensify the need for smart cost controls and better resource alignment. So our fund balance outlook: we ended FY24 with 37.9% operating fund balance. By the end of 25, we are projecting a 24.48% and 17.65 in 26. However, this trend requires close monitoring to maintain financial health in FY27 and beyond. So with our expenditure strategy, we're just working on the right sizing plan after ESSER. Cuts in purchase services, contracts, and supply budgets were made and analyzed. Long-term planning focus: we need to monitor enrollment, continue adjusting staffing based on student needs, reassess expenditures and pursue operational efficiencies, and maintain alignment with the board policy of the fund balance requirement. So my final thoughts to summarize it all: the budget supports our current instructional goals while practicing sound financial management. We respectfully request the board approve the FY26 proposed budget on or before June 30th, 2025. So do we have any questions? That was my attempt to summarize the documents that you have before you.
Dr. May?
All right. Hello. All right. Hello. I guess my first observations, because we just did training with the Missouri School Board Association. And so like even with the budget message, it kind of delved a little bit more into our major changes and why. So like for instance, communication has a significant decrease in the budget. And I was just curious, like starting with that department, what is changing in what they're going to deliver and why for it to be such a significant decrease in the communication budget. And I think it was maybe $300,000 decrease maybe in human resources. So I'm just curious to those types of adjustments. And just start there.
So across the board, there were major adjustments in some locations, and I can have Mr. Charles if he want to speak to those specific departments.
Okay.
Yeah, with these kind of reductions, one thing to keep in mind as we approach, and I say we, because this has been a very collaborative project, because I was working on this, and then Miss Terry came on board, picked up the ball and ran with it. But we were committed to the fact that if we're going to make reductions, let's do those in the areas that have the least direct impact on kids.
Mhm.
Okay, communications departments got a lot of great things there happen, a lot of great supportive things, but they may not be the most direct results to kids. I think there are probably some advertisements for open positions, like television advertisements, radio spots, that are rather expensive, but something that we could afford in the past. Maybe not wise for us to continue in the future. Uh, that will be up to that department to determine how best to use their dollars, but that's probably where you're going to see the biggest reductions, at least within the communications department.
So like some of the other areas, other departments mention communication, do they not, what do they do when they have those allocations that say communication? What's the significance of
Yeah.
it being
A
separate
lot of
from?
times, the communications you're seeing in other departments are really phones, telephones.
Okay.
They really, the expenditures for like phones, we want our principals to remain in contact with us.
Mhm.
We want to be able to reach them, so we provide phones to them. That's really what that is. It's not really something that the principals or the department heads really manage. It's just a line item.
How did you all collaborate with the communications department on input on what they thought should be priority?
What we did, and I will be honest with you, I'm like you, I prefer collaborative leadership style, but there are two times when a more direct leadership style is really warranted. That's when things are so good, you can do whatever you want and everybody goes along with it. And there are times when things are so bad, you have to take a more top-down approach. Or I should say, I started by putting together recommendations for the budget, department by department by department. Then we met with each and every department head, each and every principal, made revisions, and that now is the final budget you see in front of you.
Okay, so with the different middle schools, what drives them having different budget amounts allocated to them? I mean, I understand enrollment might play a role in it, but for the most part, what contributes to that?
Honestly, probably more past history than anything. I know one of the things that Ms. Terry wants to do is to come up with a more objective way of allocating funds per school. Um, One of the things I've seen in the past is, let's say, how much are we going to allocate for supply money for each of the various schools? Um, my past experience is there's a base amount that every school gets, then you add so much per student to that. Just an idea. To be honest with you, that's something that will be an improvement, but we couldn't tackle everything this year. I think it's something that Ms. Terry plans to do for next year.
So when we have transfer, like for under the teacher fund, why would we project the transfer versus like, for instance, where it has, the $9.1 million as a transfer? Why is that there versus it being incorporated in some other line item?
Okay.
Transfer.
This is a really standard practice schools
Okay.
in Missouri do. There's a rule that once money is put into the teacher's fund,
It gotta
it cannot be moved out.
Right.
So school districts are very careful not to put too much money into the teacher's fund and then later find they need it in the general fund. So what is a very common practice is you intentionally underfund the teacher's account, special fund, fund two, whatever you want to call it. And then at the end of the year, you transfer from fund one into fund two to make it whole.
With the May, the month ending in May, for instance, for, I'll just use the teacher fund for example. It has a ending fund balance, $8.6 million. How does that correlate with what we have as our end of year for June or the year to date? Because the numbers are different, so
I'm
we
not sure
show
what you're looking at.
the month ending May 31st, 2025, they have beginning fund balance of 23.5 million, and we have we have a different amount for our,
Well, if you look at
Beginning.
beginning balance
Mhm.
on the budget, that's the beginning balance at the beginning of the year,
uh-huh,
not the beginning of the month.
okay,
Okay. So I'm not sure the other report you're referring to, but I suspect you're looking at a beginning of the month balance on that report, where the one by your right hand is the beginning of the year balance.
okay.
I'm not sure what report you're looking at.
Right here.
Summary of the fund balance for the month.
Oh, yeah, under a different agenda item.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a beginning of the month balance. Where on the report by your right hand, that's the beginning of the fiscal year, back last July 1st.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that makes sense. Okay.
What was carried over for the prior year? is the
Okay.
beginning balance.
And I think my final questions, variances, is there a reason why we don't show, the difference in the previous and what we're proposing now to show increases and decreases so we can have an idea like what's happening or any explanations to it, like a variance column that shows percentage increase and decreases?
So I didn't want to, it's a lot of improvements that I would like to do to the reports, but I didn't want to do a lot of improvements because I didn't know what the board was accustomed to seeing. But that is definitely something that I've done in the past to provide a variance, a percentage for, comparison's sake. So-
Okay, and I think like I was saying with the budget message, it's not given like, what are the major changes? What legislation has impacted those changes? You know, like some real details for the citizens to see why we made them, what's happening, it gives more like a informational versus very direct changes that we are experiencing when I look at surrounding districts and compare whether it's SLPS,
Yeah.
Clayton, you know, we know that it's much more specific than what we are providing to the board and the public. So is there a way to drill down a little bit more to what are those major impacts that we've made and why? Because just like with communications, what are you saying? What are you
It's
saying is the?
definitely,
Yeah.
I take all of that into consideration, but when, I didn't see a prior budget message until Mr. Charles came and
Okay.
implemented. So my
It's
attempt
one from
was to
14,
tell-
15, so just do
14
it.
Okay, 14, 15.
Okay.
So it was my attempt to tell Riverview's story.
Right.
So what we had been through for the prior year. So all of those things I can take into consideration. And when I work on a budget message next year, or I can incorporate that information to dig deeper into the budget.
Okay.
And
And I would add too, really the major impacts here is the ESSER funding and the massive amount of spending and staffing additions that went on when ESSER funding was available. And that's referenced in the budget message several times. That is it. That is the challenge. The numbers are all there. You can see the variances. And I will say this, there's not a single thing represented in this budget that the board hasn't seen over the last 10 months. It's all there. And that's why we have these meetings is to answer any specific questions you might have. Obviously, we can't anticipate every question that might come up, and this book would be 1,000 pages long if we did. But I think one of the things that I am particularly pleased with, if you were to go back and look at some of our predictions from about 3, 4, 5 months ago, they haven't changed much. Our end of the year balances, our projections for the end of the year balances next year have changed maybe 1.5 percentage points. That's it. So it's remained pretty constant. But I will say this, if I could wrap it all up for you, I would say this. You've done great work. This district has done great work. When I came on board, it took about 2 weeks to discover we had a $23 million problem. That's huge when you have an $80 million budget. $23 million problem. By the end of the year, we'd improved so much it was what, a $17 million problem. that is hard to do during a school year. Your administrative team took the lead, came up with it. You guys held our feet to the fire, but you made the tough decisions. Next year, for the same reasons, that challenge is reduced to a $7 million problem, about 7.6, okay? You still have that facing you when this time next year, you're talking about the FY '27 budget. You're gonna have to come up with roughly 7.5 million of expenditure reductions and or revenue enhancements. But you've done great work, made a lot of progress, done a lot of work, but there's still work to do.
There's still work to do.
Still work to do.
Okay, one last thing, on page 12 and 32, I noticed that under the superintendent's budget, starting at, account 6211 is totally zeroed out. What was previously allocated there, page 12? And then page 32 under continuous improvement, that's zeroed completely out too.
Under continuous improvement.
Starting at teacher retirement, all of the superintendents, all those amounts are zero.
It's under 9. She's looking at FY '25, '26.
You said page 12, and what else? Page 12 and what else?
Yeah, page 12 and 32 and 32.
The Y is the superintendent up here rather than down here.
Do you see it? It's under teacher retirement.
Right, I'm
There,
saying, and
yeah.
salaries is the same. Yeah, I'm trying to, and this is the superintendent's. So the question is, why is the superintendent's salary and benefits in Fund 1 rather than Fund 2? Yeah, we're gonna have to look at that. We'll have to look at
Okay,
that.
and then the other one was 32 under continuous improvement. That budget, under the general fund was totally, zeroed out too. I was just curious. Is that from, what was that?
Yeah, and I think that position has been changed. It's probably being charged to a different department next year.
I think the title is the same, correct?
Yes, the Office of Continuous Improvement will be the same.
Yeah.
I do know that person, the job responsibilities and so on have changed. That's probably, I have to go back and see which department that's allocated to. I do know that particular salary is in the budget. I just have to see which department it's in.
I think, and I believe.
I know it's your department, but it's zeroed out. You see the budget?
But-
Okay.
But there, again, these salaries are coded based upon Missouri Accounting Manual, okay? And if the job duties change, it's very possible, I have to go back and look and see what department we charge that particular salary to. I do know it is in the budget. I just have to go back and look and see which department we have that charge to for next year.
Okay. Somebody can ask another question.
Thank you, Ms. Lang.
Mr. Charles and Ms. Terry, first of all, thank you so much for this colorful presentation. What has happened in the past since I've been here is we would have a separate budget workshop where just the board would ask these questions, so that we would have time to do it independent of a board meeting, and we could ask those detailed kinds of questions. So that might be something you may consider for your next presentation. But thank you so much for this information.
Any additional questions?
I can go back.
Okay.
Where you have, there are some areas where I see projected, and I don't know if that should say actual, I was just a little confused. Example would be page, we can go to page 32 as well. It has 24, 25 projection and then budget. Is that an actual or what is that?
No, it's not an actual.
So
Because we're
it's,
still in
Hmm.
24, 25. This fiscal year hasn't finalized. So what is representing is the projections of where we are versus what the budget was.
okay,
So once this year finalizes, those will become actuals. But we typically don't finalize until after the audit.
okay, okay. That's what I was
Mhm.
curious about that. And, yeah, so I think the variances was the main thing and any explanations to those changes. And, those areas that was completely zeroed out.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will follow back up with those. Mhm.
And like I said, 14, 15 budget messages in the, in Diligent, if you do a search, and it's much more specific than what we have, like I mentioned. you know.
Okay.
Do we need to have do we need to have a workshop before the,
We could-
the 31st so we could,
We have to adopt this by June 3rd.
by June 30th,
Yep.
which is, oh my gosh.
Right.
That's just right around the corner.
Yes.
Right.
So the answer is no, we won't have a workshop between now and June 30th.
We will have to have another meeting, Ms. Lane, before the end of the month to accept the budget we could, and ask all our questions. We were gonna discuss that in closed session, but we weren't able to. But we will after this meeting. So that was one of the topics for closed session.
Oh,
But
so it'll be a Zoom meeting?
yeah, we will, yeah, it will be, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, okay, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
The next item up for discussion is the fund balance report for the month ending May 31st, 2025. That was what you were looking at.
Okay, so this is real quick because I've already stated the fund balance. Really hasn't been any change because we have not finalized the budget, but we are currently still trending 24.4% fund balance ending FY 25. That number will not be finalized until after the audit and after the ASBR has been loaded into the system. Any questions? No. Thank you.
Okay, our next item up for discussion is the 2025-26 support staff and administrative salary proposed increases. Making this presentation is Mr. Travis Ford. And this is in conjunction with numerous policies, IHB, GCA, GCD, and GCA. Mr. Ford.
Okay. Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Patton, colleagues and community. Just trying to make sure I'm on the right item. I'm going to try to summarize it as much as possible, but I am going to go through most of this information. Strategy 5 under our workforce and staffing section of the CSIP states that RGSD will work to increase salaries and benefits for our faculty and staff. The BOE approved the district teachers to receive an increase of a half-step movement on the teacher salary schedule for the 2025-2026 school year, which equals a 1.5% increase. The funding for this increase to the teacher salaries will be provided as a result of the states of Missouri passed Senate Bill 727, which incentivizes school districts to maintain a 169-day school calendar. This 1% incentive can only be utilized to increase teacher salaries. In order to meet the CSIP goal and to attract and maintain and place experienced staff in front of our students, we have researched the feasibility of salary increases for all staff members. A 1.5% salary increase for support staff and administrators is being proposed for the 2025-26 school year. A 1.5% increase for all staff members would achieve our goal of increasing salaries and improving staff retention. This would result in a half-step increase for support staff on their salary schedules, which equals 1.5% increase. The administrator salary schedules do not have half steps, but instead they are based on ranges. So the proposed 1.5% salary increase for administrators on their salaries schedule would keep them in alignment with the increases for the teachers and the support staff members. While we understand that we do have budget challenges, we have begun the necessary steps to address these challenges. At the same time, we remain focused on delivering quality education for our students. The most important piece of delivering quality education for our students are the professionals that we hire in these essential positions. We must continue to place quality teachers, quality leaders, and quality support staff in front of our students if we are really to move our buildings academically. And after 18 years, get back on track for full, get back to, because we're already on track, but get back to full accreditation. We simply must reduce the turnover rate for RGSD and retain effective teachers, support staff, and administrators. The only way to make a true difference for our students and our community is to remain competitive with our salaries. Additionally, the insurance increase of 18.8% will affect all employees, even if they select to remain with our standard plan. This is due to CDS Trust requiring employees to pay first, and then the HRA will only contribute after that deductible has been met. This will affect the amount our employees are currently spending on health insurance. This is one of our goals. We talked about it earlier, strategy 5 under workforce and staffing. It is budgeted. The dollar amount is estimated to be a budget impact of $330,000 for the 25-26 school year for our support staff and administrators to receive that 1.5% increase that would be in alignment with the teachers. It is recommended that the board approve the half-step 1.5% increase on the 25-26 support staff salary schedules and the 1.5% salary increase for administrators, with the exception of the superintendent for the 25-26 school year. A recommendation for approval will be presented at the next board meeting. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
And I apologize for trying to go so fast.
That's okay. So it has GOB, so it's coming out of general
Yes,
fund,
ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
So right now, the budget that we were just looking at, has a reduction in the FY 26. So has it been placed in this budget that you're aware of?
So I'm going to say this in the presence of our CFO and Mr. Charles. The information that we had originally had and that has been communicated is that it was factored in to have that 1.5% increase for all staff members as a cushion, just in case the board decided to approve it if it became a reality, so that we would already have those actual numbers. Have I communicated that correctly?
Okay, so we have something to supplement for that amount, the increase because of the decrease. Okay, that's the budget message content that I'm talking about. So I think that'll be good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Our next item up, hold on. All right, oh, Mr., you say right there, Mr. Stafford.
I thought it was me. I just kind of took a step back.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. Good evening again, board members. The proposed 25-26 staffing plan reflects projected enrollment at each school site, as well as the evolving needs of students and staff. This plan includes several position reductions and one additional position, and it is based on the enrollment projections and program requirements and budgetary considerations. I will not read each rationale on each piece while we're reducing it, but I will say the positions and give an overall, and then I'll talk about the addition. The positions that I'm going to talk about right now are the reductions. These are proposed changes aimed to align our staffing allocations with the district's current needs while maintaining fiscal responsibility. The reductions are recommended to be removed from the general operating budget, while the additional position that will be recommended will be funded out of the federal budget. The positions are as follow. Assistant Director of Facilities will be one reduction. Secretary 2 for Technology Department, it's a part-time position. That's a reduction. Crossing guards, we have 8 positions on our staffing plan. Those are reductions. The instructional technology coach position is a reduction. And then the secretary, and then that summarizes all of those reductions. These reductions are being recommended because they have been sitting on our staffing plan. They are considered when they start building the budget in case those positions are filled. And these positions have not been filled for several years. Some of them haven't been filled for over 7 years or more. Some of them were added and may not have ever been filled. And so in order to right-size the district and also remove those allocation considerations in our budget, they're being recommended to be reduced from the staffing plan. There is one position recommended to be added to the staffing plan. That is the Secretary 3 position for the Students in Transitions Department. The district has seen growing number of students in transitions. So to effectively support these families and ensure timely documentation processes in accordance with our legal requirements, this additional Secretary 3 position is recommended for the Student in Transitions Department. It'll be funded through our federal title funds. And it will not impact our general operating budget. We've seen an increase over the past years. We have gotten out of or exited the consent decree. I hope I'm saying the term correctly.
Yes.
And we want to make sure that we remain in compliance. Also, with some of the additional tragedies that have happened, loss of housing with tornadoes, there is going to be an influx of moving across all districts. So this is that consideration. The estimated total savings by removing those allocations would be not having to consider an estimate of $316,000 for those positions. And then the federal budget for that Secretary 3 position is an estimated of $58,000. It is recommended that the Riverview Garden School Board approve the 25-26 staffing plan as presented. Are there any questions?
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Ford. Before we go to the next item, I mentioned earlier, I want to clarify. I mentioned to Ms. Lane that we were going to discuss it in closed session. We were going to discuss scheduling a meeting before the end of the month in closed session, not the budget. I just wanted to make that clear. Some people thought I meant the budget, but I meant scheduling the meeting. Okay, thank you. Our next item up for discussion is the Memorandum of Understanding for Student Services. Making this presentation is Ms. Deirdre Liddell, Executive Director of Students and Community Support, and this is in conjunction with DJF2. Ms. Liddell.
Greetings again. Memorandums of understanding are essential to the success of our district as they facilitate valuable external supports that enhance the educational experience and overall well-being of our students. We seek to maintain and develop partnerships with agencies and providers. The hopeful outcome is that through these partnerships, students will improve in their overall academic health and social outcomes. The 2 MOUs that I bring before you today are Family Workforce Centers of America. Family Workforce Centers of America is a nonprofit agency. They come in and they do our Ready for Life program with our scholars, and they have also given our scholars opportunities for apprenticeships and then other summer jobs. The second one is Lutheran Family and Children's Services. Lutheran Family and Children's Services support our students with one-on-one mental and therapeutic health. They're one of our therapeutic providers that are embedded within our school. All of these MOUs are free of charge, and the recommendation is for the Office of Student Support Services is recommending approval for the attached MOUs for the upcoming school year at the next board meeting. Are there any questions?
have a question, Ms. Liddell. How do the families gain access to these services?
So with that, these are embedded services within the school day. So a lot of times we're assigning them. So for example, Family Workforce Centers of America are assigned to classes. So they may run through a health class, or they may run through our JAG program. So the students are getting those services through there. And then if a student is selected for apprenticeship, then they're contacting the families for those additional opportunities. Same thing with our mental health services. We make sure that our families know that we have our therapeutic providers within our schools. We hand out the information. Some of our providers are set up where when the students register, they're able to sign up to see if they want therapeutic support. They may be identified by a social worker or a counselor or even a principal for some of those supports.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Ms. Liddell, can you roll right into convocation?
Yes. All right, so we're excited to announce our 2025 convocation. Our annual tradition has been held on the campus of UMSL at the Two Hill Performing Arts Center. We're hoping to have our convocation again at that same place. There are a few changes in regards to this year's convocation. We will have very limited professional development held at that building, which is different for years past. We're wanting to make sure that we are being fiscally responsible in doing so. And then we're also looking for a great scholar, a former scholar, to be our speaker. So this is budgeted, it's coming through the superintendent's budget. The budget amount is $3,442.88. And the agreement does not require legal review. It is recommended that the agreement and the use of the UMSL Two Hill Performing Arts Center is approved at an amount not to exceed $3,442.88 at the next board meeting. Are there any questions?
The time of the convocation, you all have the times mapped out?
Yes, it'll be 8:30 to, I would like to say 10:30, but we run over every single year, so.
And I'd like to say that this is a reduction in previous years in the cost. It was $7,000 to $8,000 in previous years, and it is $3,000, a little bit over $3,000. So we are looking to cut our budget in all kinds of ways.
So the refreshments going to be eliminated?
Yes, ma'am. Unless we can work something special out through some of our donors. Thank you.
Ms. Lane. Okay, our next item up for discussion, our last two items up for discussion, last two are the ultimate threat management licenses and also the E-rate consulting contract. Making this presentation is Mr. Thomas Randolph. He is our network manager, and both of these are in conjunction with policy DJF purchasing. Mr. Randolph.
Good evening. The first item up for discussion, the Unified Threat Management System. It's the district's firewall internet filter, which is required to receive the E-rate funding, which is what the consultant will be on the next item. Essentially allows the district to provide internet services and be as safe as possible with any access to the internet. So all of the everything that we do now in the district is all connected to the internet. So we try to make sure that whatever we have protecting that information is up to date. This is the licenses for the third year of a 3-year for the continuation of 1 more year on the firewall. For the sum of $88,189. Is there any questions?
You can go to the next one.
All right. The next one is our E-rate consultant. So E-rate is a universal service fund provided by the federal government that provides school districts based on free and reduced lunch rates for technology and services that you can purchase at the district. Our E-rate items that we submitted this year already, we've had 3 funding approvals totaling a little over $187,000 for fiber WAN, 2 dedicated internet. The hotspots have not been approved yet, but we're still waiting for that to come through. This is for the consultant that we use for this. There's multiple meetings throughout the year that he attends to make sure that we're up to date with all the recent changes in the federal government, and things are kind of a little, I guess you'd say, uneasy at the moment to see where it's going to be. But as for now, we're making the request to continue for 1 year more of service with the current E-rate consultant for the sum of, I have it right here, $13,500. Is there any questions?
Dr. May?
I was just curious, I know you mentioned 1 more year. Is there no one that currently has the expertise to do that without us having a consultant, or what?
So within the district, the person, the consultant that we hired, and there's multiple consultants out there for E-rate, the time that it takes them, it's literally a yearly, I guess, job for them. Usually consultants will handle multiple districts all at the same time. But there's not somebody here for the amount of money that we're receiving and being able to attend those sessions that they have that talk about like the granularity of what is and is not allowed and changes by the year. They keep up with that and come to us and say, okay, here's what our options are, and lay it on the table for us so that we know what we need.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Thank you.
this concludes our items for discussion.
Thank you. We will now move to our items for action. I would like to request a motion to approve the AMI plan as presented.
Madam Chair, can I motion to approve all items?
Normally with the items for action, we do them one at a time.
We've done them all together too.
Okay. All right, may I have a second?
Okay, I'll move to approve all items under, for action, which include, and I'll name them. Trying to scroll up, I'm sorry. The AMI plan, the STEAM, MOU, and just those two. Okay.
Second? I'll second. Okay. Okay, it has been moved, to approve by Dr. May, to approve the AMI plan as presented, and also the, STEM IT MOU as presented, and seconded by Ms. Moore Real. If there's no further discussion, we are ready for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, none opposed. It has been approved. Next, we will, I would like to have a motion to adjourn the, open session and move into closed session.
Madam Chair, I so move.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved to adjourn our open session and moved by Ms. Moore Real and seconded by Dr. May to move into closed session. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, all right, meeting adjourned. We're moving to closed session.